front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It stays unsettled through into Sunday. Storm Bert continuing to give outbreaks of heavy rain across the country, strong winds as well. And we can see that on the pressure pattern. Bert sat to the west of the UK, bringing in strong winds, outbreaks of heavy rain right through the rest of the weekend, and we can see the rain across much of the UK through this evening and into the early hours. The bright colours indicating some heavy bursts of rain in there, so there could be some local disruption combined with snowmelt across northern England, parts of Scotland as well, as temperatures continue to rise. Double figures overnight across England and Wales, well above where they should be for the time of year, in a huge contrast to what we saw over recent days. Taking a look at Sunday morning, outbreaks of heavy rain across much of England to start the day. Some localised disruption possible is worth checking before travelling. Something a little brighter for Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland to start the day. Still breezy here and particularly windy across parts of the Highlands and Islands, with showery outbreaks of rain here too. Snow continuing to melt where the sun shines as temperatures continue to rise through the morning. Through the day on Sunday, it generally stays cloudy across much of England and Wales. Outbreaks of heavy rain continue. Could be some further disruption. The Met Office warning continues, as well as some strong winds for many parts of the UK, particularly strong across northwest Scotland later on in the day. Temperatures here 9 to 11 Celsius, 15, 16 Celsius further south, so exceptionally mild for the time of year. Into Monday, weather systems start to clear away, but still remains blustery across the northern half of the UK in particular. Here, frequent showers through the day, turning increasingly colder as the day progresses. Some of these showers turning to snow later on, and temperatures starting to fall away, and generally staying unsettled as we go through the week. Temperatures nearer to average by Wednesday.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion, Mark Meets, and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. Storm Bert batters Britain, leaving 3 dead and thousands without power.
But the worst is yet to come, as heavy rain and thawing snow could bring flooding to parts of the UK.
With yellow warnings for rain and wind still remaining across much of the UK, we'll keep you fully up to date.
We still have Storm Bert dominating our weather, bringing some heavy spells of rain and also some very strong winds. I'll have all the details coming up shortly.
And Putin ready to cripple the UK. That's according to Pat McFadden, warning the Russian president could launch a wave of cyber attacks.
Is the Queen the wicked stepmother? From the most hated woman in the UK to national treasure, a Channel 4 documentary is set to explore the rise of Queen Camilla.
And as Jamie Murray is conferred an honorary degree from the University of Stirling, we'll be debating whether it's right for celebrities and indeed news presenters to receive such degrees.
Health professionals have sounded the alarm over the sale of weight loss jabs online amid fears they could be leading to a spike in hospitalisations.
Good morning. A 5th straight loss and the heaviest defeat at home in 21 years. This is truly uncharted territory for Manchester City and their boss Pep Guardiola, who saw his side thumped by Tottenham. In tennis, Novak Djokovic appoints Andy Murray as his coach, and in rugby it's England v Japan at Twickenham. More later.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is GB News Breakfast. Good morning.
Christmas time.
It's Christmas time. Yeah, it's lovely. I know. I thought I'd start off with a sing-song. Yeah.
Tree went up yesterday. It is a bit early for us, to be fair. It's a week earlier than normal.
Can I just confess something here? Full confession, I actually want to marry your husband.
OK.
Yeah, because if you're watching, Daniel, and I'm sure you are just Mr Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
He is wonderful. You went and brought your tree, and Daniel's filmed it with Christmas music, and you decorated it, and it's lovely and traditional and wonderful.
It is a nice tree.
I'm married to Scrooge.
Yeah.
I am married to Scrooge.
He did take down your decoration.
He did take down my decoration. I snuck a star up on his windowsill. In his man cave. He's not allowed out of there. I put a little glittery star up there. I went in the next day and it had gone.
Yeah. He's a Scrooge.
I think it's actually in the bin.
No, he hasn't binned it.
And we went out to lunch yesterday, and he mistakenly, didn't do it on purpose, ordered from the Christmas menu, which meant the very brave staff in the restaurant gave him a cracker.
How did that go down?
It really did go down at all.
Did he pull it?
He did in the end, but not in the way you're meant to pull a Christmas cracker. No.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, the language wasn't choice either.
Oh, dear.
And I guess food was nice.
Well, as long as food.
But your tree is lovely.
The tree is nice this year, yeah.
I've booked my niece, Neve, to come around next Sunday to put up the decorations.
Why is she doing it for you?
Because she's just got a flair for those kind of things. She'll be doing early in the day. She has 2 trees in her own house.
Are you paying her?
Not this time, but if I have a few friends... No, what she does, she comes down and she's maitre d' when I have my friends round. a few weeks later, so I tend to give her a tip for that. She refuses it, but I make sure she takes it. But she does 2... I'm not tight, I'm very, very generous. And she does two trees in her own house and then comes round to mine in the evening. I have to cook dinner as well.
How old is she?
She is
47.
Born in 2007, so she must be.
I was going to say 8, and then I shove up the chimney.
17, is it?
17.
Yeah. She's very talented, though. Very talented.
Are you doing a traditional one? I mean, mine's pure white.
Actually, funny enough, the shop I bought from last year, a GB News viewer, they've actually closed the shop and moved to Hastings, so I'm going to have to find an alternative tree retailer. But I do insist on a real one.
Well, you'll have to get some GB News baubles.
Yeah, I've tried to pinch a couple, but they're like gold dust.
Our trees, just to let you know, our trees are ready, but they're in the foyer. So when we probably bring them on start of December.
I think it's beginning of December, yeah.
So we will
They're lovely,
get them on set.
Yeah.
Are you real or artificial?
Real.
Yeah, I think so.
Mine's upcycled from a couple of years.
I like the smell, though, don't you?
Yeah, I love
it. Yeah.
It's just watering them. You've got to make sure you water
them.
Yeah, exactly. We're all across that.
They go limp quite easy as well, don't they?
Anyway, Aidan, thank you.
No worries.
See you later.
Okay.
She means to go on. Right, let's start.
The
talk about the
weather.
weather. The drive down was bad this morning, and where we are in this part of the country and a little up to the Midlands where I live, it's actually not too bad according to the weather maps and the warnings and all the rest of it. But much of Britain has been battered by Bert with strong winds, heavy snow across many parts.
Yeah, the multi-hazard weather event has left 3 dead in a spate of weather-related road incidents and thousands of homes without power.
Well, today, dozens of weather warnings still in place as heavy rain and thawing snow could lead to floods.
That's why people across the country have been urged to stay at home as the weather causes travel delays across the UK.
Weather journalist Nathan Rao is back with us this morning.
Good morning.
Nathan, good to see you. I mean, it really was rotten yesterday.
It was really rotten yesterday, and I'm surprised I managed to make it in this morning because it's absolute chaos out there. Wind speeds of 105 miles per hour at the Needles in the Isle of Wight were recorded last night, and more inland, 85 miles per hour. Storm Bert has not finished with us yet. There are a number of warnings out, as you mentioned today, and that is for wind across the southern flank of the UK is for wind. Gusts of up to 70 mile per hour on the coast and up to 50 mile per hour inland. And there are rain warnings across a lot of the country, sort of down the west coast and more inland. There are some heavy rain warnings. And he also mentioned snow. With that Storm Bert that blew in last night into the cold air that we haven't got it at the moment, but blew in, there was some very, very heavy snow, up to 6 inches of snow fell in parts. And with that snow melt and the heavy rain, there are going to be some flood problems going through the weekend. The Environment Agency has more than 200 flood alerts and flood warnings in place across the country. And as I said, Storm Bert, a very slow-moving storm, as I mentioned to you yesterday, as it moves across the northeast of the country, is going to hang around for the rest of the day and into the beginning of tomorrow. So really not very pleasant, and some quite tragic consequences. So do take notice of those warnings. They are in place for a reason. And if you're out and about, do take notice of the wind warnings and the rain warnings and take care, because it's choppy out there.
Even in the centre of London where I live, it's incredibly windy this morning. But the one thing I really noticed, Nathan, was yesterday on our balcony in central London, it was like -3. And so it was 15.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a temperature.
Really interesting. Now, Storm Bert has come in from the south, and that has brought in mild air. And a really interesting figure from the Met Office I just saw this morning was yesterday it was 16.8 degrees in Bude in Cornwall and -12.4 in Comprace in Scotland.
Wow.
I mean, that's as the mild air is coming up from the south into that Arctic air that we've had over the week. I mean, you've noticed the last week has been bitterly cold across the country. Today, if you're across the south of the country, certainly as that comes in, you're going to notice it's going to be very, very mild, but very, very unsettled still. This is quite a big storm, sort of for the late in autumn. We're in the last week of autumn, and it's a bit of a big one, second one of the season, but certainly making its mark, Storm Bert.
Are we still technically in autumn?
Yeah, the meteorological winter starts on the 1st of December, and the astronomical winter starts on the 21st of December.
Oh, right.
2 different winter winters, whichever one you prefer. I prefer to go by the meteorological because it's easier, 1st of the month. So 1st of December is winter. So it's still technically in autumn and the autumn storm season, but quite a big one.
Now, you've mentioned Bert being slow-moving. I mean, when does the weather get more settled?
It doesn't get more settled, actually, until the middle of next week. The Met Office, I was looking again at the long-range forecast today, there is more sort of low pressure, which is, we always talk about low pressure when we're talking about unsettled weather, hanging around the UK right up till Thursday. And then we get high pressure, which is the opposite. We like high pressure. That's more settled at the end of the week. That sometimes brings cooler conditions. But it is going to be an unsettled week. Thankfully, not as bad as we've seen this weekend. There are no more weather warnings out as yet for the start of the week. I suspect because we've had such heavy rain and there will be snow melt, I wouldn't be surprised because the weather warnings are issued on the impact that the weather is going to bring rather than just what the weather is. And because we've had the very heavy rain and the winds, any unsettled weather is going to have more of an impact as we go through the start of the week. So there may well be some more weather warnings. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But yeah, unsettled through the start of the week, but milder.
Is it going to be a bad season for storms? Because some winters and autumns seem worse than others. Is this one predicted to be a bad one? Or?
Well, that's a very interesting question because we had the storm season actually starts in September, and we've only had 2 storms. We had Storm Ashley, and now we've had Storm Bert. So quite late on in the storm season, we've only had 2 storms. However, if we look at last year, we had 11 storms right at the very, very end of the storm season, going right up until summer. So it's quite difficult to say. High pressure is coming in at the end of the week, and high pressure is calmer. So in terms of storms, that's probably going to be a no. But it's quite difficult to say. It depends what the jet stream doing. Stephen, we love the jet stream, don't we? We always talk about the jet stream. The jet stream at the moment is right over the UK. In fact, it's split into 2, coming over from the United States and branching into 2. And that's what's sweeping this weather systems in. And if the jet stream stays over us, we'll get more risk of storms. It strengthens low pressure systems in the Atlantic, and it also steers them in. So we'll have to keep an eye on the jet stream.
All right, as always.
As always.
Nathan, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Now, Russia could turn the lights off and won't think twice about exploiting defence gaps in the UK.
And that's the warning of the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, Pat McFadden, is expected to tell NATO members next week.
In a speech, he'll urge countries to bolster cyber security and not underestimate the threat of cyber warfare from Russia.
It follows warnings from experts last night who urged Britain to remain firm and stand strong against Vladimir Putin's threats.
Let's talk to political commentator Andy Preston, who's in Middlesbrough this morning. Andy, good to see you, as always. I mean, this is very strong language from Pat McFadden, actually. I mean, we know Russia said they're going to target the UK, but cyber attacks is something they really could do quite easily.
Hi, Stephen. Hi, Dawn. Yeah, good morning. It's chilling, isn't it? This warning from Pat McFadden that basically it could unleash chaos. I mean, we all know about military threats and they're terrifying, but this is much more real. And if people don't think it's real, think about this for a second. It could be trivial stuff like flights are grounded, but it could also be things like hospitals not working, operations cancelled, massive power cuts, huge disruptions, and actually pushes into recession. Cyber warfare is absolutely crippling. It's hard to fight. And I think what Pat McFadden is doing here is trying to get all of our infrastructure, our hospitals, our businesses, our councils, to up their game, get ready and be in defensive mode, and make sure they've got the protocols to protect themselves.
Andy, how expert are Russia in cyber warfare? I mean, obviously, we all thought in the Ukraine that would be more of the case, but that's an old-school trench warfare going on there, isn't it? So how good are they at sabotaging the cyber network?
They are incredible. I don't know enough. I'm not a global expert in this, but let me tell you, I was at the Australian consulate about 9 years ago, and I had a meeting there with someone very senior, and he explained at the time, way back then, that their systems were completely being tested, probed, and trying to be viciously attacked. He said at that point, I hope I'm not betraying confidence, by Russia and China. And it was an ongoing thing that had gone on for years. And I think there's an expertise there. There's an awareness in Russia that they can cripple councils, hospitals, governments, and economic systems. We should all be prepared. I don't want to terrify everyone too much, but what Pat McFadden is trying to do is make sure that our businesses, our hospitals, and our councils are doing everything they can, that they're following protocols. And I say again, this could be economic. It could easily lead to a recession.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because businesses, of course, have to do, work their own way around these sort of issues. But I mean, the GCHQ is meant to monitor all of this, and they do protect us from a lot of this sort of stuff. I mean, presumably they are at the top of their game, are they?
Well, I have no doubt at all, Stephen, that we have experts, teams of people doing incredible work, and I've no doubt that they've already stopped a bunch of hostile attacks. But sooner or later, significant ones are going to get through. We've had issues in this country, haven't we, with councils being held to ransom and health services. That's already happened. We had a huge internet cable. In case people don't know, most of the internet we use comes in cables under the ground. There was a cable cut in the Baltic very recently, and that's a real risk too. So we have experts, we have defense systems, we have people working all the time and heading off attacks. But sooner or later, a major issue is inevitable. And can I let you know, I mean, I live in the countryside and I get power cuts all the time. So the house has always got candles, I have power banks charged up. And it's not a bad idea, for all your viewers and listeners to do the same. I'm not trying to scare people, but be ready for power cuts and things like that.
Andy, one of the scarier things I read recently was the NHS relies on I think most doctors' surgeries in this country rely on one form of server, basically, to help them. So we don't seem prepared for this, certainly not the NHS.
I've no doubt that there are really strong protocols. There will be people in the NHS and at central government whose job it is to make sure that we're resilient and strong. But I've also, I'm afraid to say, got no doubt that Russia is at the very top of its game, and hence Pat McFadden's warning. I think this is the future of warfare. It's economic, and it's coming, and we have to up our game quickly.
Yeah. OK, Andy, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. It is one of those things, as Andy said, power cuts. Remember the power cuts in the 70s and things.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But today it's a different thing, isn't it? Because it's not just about our power supplies, but it's about our information and the fact that everything operates.
Everything is run online, isn't it? And the NHS does worry me because we talk about how much money we're spending on it, but we don't update that. And doctor surgeries all being linked on the same system, I find terrifying. You bring down...
There must be some backup. Surely there's got to be a backup.
They still send faxes, Stephen.
Well, that might be safer.
Well, it might be safer, but, I mean, they're at that level of technology.
Anyway, all right. We'll keep you up to date with that. Keep your fingers crossed that nothing happens on that front. It may not. 16 minutes past 6. Let's have a look at some of the other main stories heading into the newsroom today.
Yeah, delegates at COP29 in Azerbaijan have agreed a new climate finance target. They pledged $300 billion, up from $100 billion a year, to help poorer countries deal with the impacts of climate change, with rich countries leading the payments. It was feared that the conference would collapse after some of the poorest nations had indeed walked out of those talks.
A number of unidentified drones have been spotted over 3 air bases in Britain, according to the United States Air Force. The incidents, which occurred between November the 20th and 22nd, saw small unmanned aerial systems spotted over RAF Lakenheath, RAF Mildenhall and RAF Feltwell.
And 2 tennis rivals have united. Novak Djokovic has appointed his former rival, Andy Murray, to be his new tennis coach. Murray is set to join Djokovic's team in the off-season, helping him prepare for the Australian Open. Aidan McGee will have all the details on that story later.
Dear me, it's... the COP29 thing, we've not really covered COP29.
No, we haven't, because...
Which is, I mean, frankly, a relief, because what does it ever achieve?
Well, the fact that we're up to number 29 worries me slightly. Yeah. 1 to 28 obviously achieved absolutely nothing.
Well, very little.
Yeah.
And then, of course, also, I mean, Paris was a big one in 2015, I think, and Trump is saying he will sign out of all of those deals. Yeah, I just wonder what the point is. We've been told, Ed Miliband says that this £300 billion won't cost Britain any more money. In fact, we will make money out of it because we can...
Did he explain how exactly?
No.
No, that was the point. And they did open this particular COP by talking about how important fossil fuels were.
Yeah. It's very confusing.
Didn't think that was quite the point.
I just think it's all a total.
And the other fact was how many private jets had flown in for this conference Conference of Parties, isn't it? That's what COP stands for.
I don't.
Yeah, it does, yeah. Conference of Parties, random fact for you. But private jets, so many have flown into Azerbaijan to sit and talk about destroying the planet by flying everywhere.
Yeah, that's why they don't.
Don't you go on holiday for 2 weeks in the summer?
Why don't they just do it over Zoom? Anyway.
Well, quite.
Right, Storm Bert, should we get the latest? Here's Catherine.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. We still have Storm Bert dominating our weather through today, bringing strong winds, further spells of heavy rainfall, but also some mild air too. So we have a band of rain across the southwestern parts of England. That's moving its way slowly eastwards across the Midlands and gradually into East Anglia. Towards the north of that, though, a much drier picture compared to Saturday, but blustery showers already moving through across parts of Northern Ireland and western part of Scotland. Here temperatures around 10 or 11 degrees, but across the south a very mild picture out there, highs of 15 to 16 degrees. There are warnings in force, rain and wind warnings. We could see gusts up to 70 miles per hour across western parts of Scotland through this evening, with heavy spells of showers and rain. That continuing across Northern Ireland as well, with blustery showers feeding through, gusts here up to 65 miles per hour. Across parts of central England, we still have this band of heavy rain that will gradually start moving its way eastwards through the night, moving into East Anglia and southeastern England. Behind that, turning drier with some clear spells, but some frequent showers. These most frequent across Northern Ireland and into Scotland as well, where we still hold on to some very strong winds as we start Monday morning. But it won't be as mild as we go through Monday morning, lows dipping around 7 or 8 degrees. But it will be a damp start, especially across eastern parts of England, but rain will gradually clear its way through, turning much drier and brighter behind it across the bulk of England. But further towards the west, here we'll see frequent showers moving through, some of these quite heavy, but the main focus will be the strong winds and frequent showers across the north, where they could turn wintry, with temperatures dropping closer to average. Bye-bye for now.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
OK, still to come is Queen Camilla, the wicked stepmother. That's next. This is GB News with Stephen and Dawn.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
The birth rate in Britain has sunk to 1.49, well below replacement rate. Yet policies pursued by both major parties are still to spend huge sums to encourage parents back to their work when their children are still at preschool age. Should we not be helping parents to spend longer at home, asks his new book, whilst recognising that in an age of sex equality, the question is fraught. David Goodhart joins me now.
We undervalue the domestic realm, and that has led to lots of the most negative trends in British society. About half of children in the UK are not living with both of their biological parents by the age of 14. We have, of families with dependent children, about 24–25% are single-parent households. Mainly mothers, and they're doing, valiant work. But of course, it means you don't have the investment in children that a two-parent family can give. I mean, the reason why it's a care dilemma is that a lot of these negative trends are also kind of intimately related to positive things, like that movement of women into work, the fact that women are no longer so defined by marriage and motherhood, the fact that women and men are freer to leave unhappy relationships, and the challenge for modern liberal societies is, how we hold on to those freedoms but get a better balance, which means, I think, investing more in the domestic realm. We spend a total now of £9 billion on childcare subsidies. Why not give that subsidy direct to young parents so they could then choose whether to subsidise themselves, as it were, to be able to afford to stay at home, or to give it to a nursery, or to give it to granny, or to keep it in the home.
GB News.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 6:24 now to the royal household, and a documentary centred around the Queen is set to release on Channel 4 later on today.
The documentary has controversially been titled, spoiler alert, Queen Camilla, the Wicked Stepmother, ? It will reportedly focus on Camilla's ascension to Queen Consort and her relationship with the King's children.
Let's talk to royal commentator and former royal gardener Jack Stooks. Morning to you, Jack.
Hi.
I have to say, I'm offended by the title already.
I think the title is to pull people in, isn't it? They've always got to find some kind of headline to get you riled up, get you going, get you intrigued as to what's coming. I think the reason is they're trying to use the sort of Harry versus Camilla story very much from what he said in his book. I don't know if we can say she's the wicked stepmother. I think we all know from talking to friends and family who have stepmothers, there's always an excuse. Oh, well, she's not my real mother. So there's always going to be that from any family, be it royal family, be it say, for instance, my sister's family. And there's always going to be something that's going to be said that's going to cause some kind of ruckus. I know Harry has been very controversial in his book. The book's obviously done very well because it was so controversial. So perhaps he was putting things in the book to make it a lot more controversial. I obviously know the Queen. I know the King. I know Prince Harry. I know the royal family quite well. And I never saw her do anything out of place, be awful to her family. She was always very wonderful a person. She still is. She goes out of her way to be polite to whoever she can be. She'll speak to anybody, and she's a lovely person. So I don't know quite what this is going to say about her or about the family, whether it's going to be positive about the Queen or negative. Personally, I think it should be positive because she's a great person, and I don't think she's put her foot wrong since being the Queen, or even when she was the Duchess of Cornwall.
Jack, it does seem to be. I personally, I've covered the royal family for many, many years.
Yeah.
I mean, from Diana's day, and I don't ever remember recently hearing a bad word about Camilla, certainly from any of her family or any staff members. And we know Buckingham Palace leaks like a sieve. So it does seem to be, unlike some people we hear stories about, where there are allegations of bullying, etc., not mentioning any names. So do you think this is just literally, going on Harry's word that she threw him under the bus? I mean, that's pretty much what Harry said, isn't it?
It is what Harry said. I think there was a lot more to that story than we might all know. I know the royal household has a press office that controls what stories come out, it controls what pictures are shown. I mean, we can see that with the Prince and Princess of Wales as to what photos are allowed out, what photos we're allowed to see or what we're not allowed to see, or when we found out about the King, his cancer diagnosis, and at that time, I think that the Princess of Wales had the same diagnosis, but that was kept very private because they didn't want anybody knowing. So there are things that are, I suppose, pushed out and shared, and there's things that aren't. And I don't know, perhaps at the time, stories were being pushed out of Harry rather than of anybody else. Like, instead of having awful stories of Prince Andrew, let's have something a little bit more salacious and a bit more different, and push something out about Harry saying something about Camilla. So I'm not dismissing that may have happened. It quite possibly did. But I know in the book he said that his father wasn't necessarily that great to him as a kid, and when I worked there and saw them all together, they were amazing as a normal family, a father and two sons having a good laugh, having a joke, seeing them at Christmas events, blowing balloons and sort of pushing them at each other. I mean, we were all involved in it, and saw them very much as a happy family. And the same was said for the Duchess of Cornwall when she used to come to the events as well.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like they are trying to scrape the barrel a little bit on all of this. Jack, really good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
I don't like it, the fact that they're just trying to sort of stir up a bit of trouble. Harry may not be a big fan of his stepmother.
No.
But William is.
Well, I mean, considering, I did cover back in the day when, the relationship between Charles and Camilla, the whole Diana, there were three of us in this marriage. I mean, I covered all those stories. And Camilla was loathed at the time. It's fair to say she was hated.
But also, Diana was viewed in this very strange light, and of course...
And she wasn't an angel.
No, she was not an angel.
She was not an angel in any way, shape or form.
And Camilla's been married to the king much longer than he was married to Diana.
Yes, and I think she supports him enormously, and I think she keeps him happy. And this is... I don't think Camilla will, from what I know of her, not that much, by the way, but from what I know of her, I don't think she'll be that worried by this, but I think the person that will be upset by this will be the king. Who, as we know, is going through cancer, and the treatment for that.
Just don't need it.
Got enough on his plate.
I have to say, I've met her, and she was amazing. I mean, it really blew me away, just of how good and attentive. It was a charity event, and how good and attentive and informed she was, and she was just properly lovely.
Yeah.
I just don't like people having a go.
No, well, I've never heard a bad word about her from the royal sources, and unlike some other people of the royal family we could mention, but we're not going to because we're far too polite. Should we move on to loads of money?
Loads of money. It's our biggest and greatest Great British giveaway this year. It's your chance to win £50,000 in tax-free cash.
Yeah, it's the biggest cash prize we've ever given away, and it could be yours. And it's very simple to do as well. Here's all the details for you.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British giveaway.
Lovely. 50 grand.
I'd be really boring and just pay bills.
Well, why not pay off the mortgage?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Make sure you've got the rent covered for the next... don't know how many years.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Not that we can enter.
No.
But you can, so good luck. Yes. Go for it.
Right, we've got all the sport with Aidan for you in just a couple of minutes.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight, every night from 11 p.m.
This is The Guardian. They've announced they will no longer post content on Elon Musk's social media platform X, or as it's still known by everybody, Twitter. So they made an announcement to readers. I don't know why they have to announce it. It's like they'd announced they're leaving a party. And why? Oh, I'm leaving the party because there's pineapple in the potato salad and the sangria's warm. I don't know, like, just go. But they said they considered the benefits of being on the platform were now outweighed by the negatives, citing the often disturbing content and misinformation found on it. But there's going to be a bit less now because The Guardian's not going to be on it. Some of the far-right conspiracy theories that they talk about are now just like 50% of the time they come true. Look at Joe Biden's cognitive decline. That was a far-right conspiracy theory, and then it came true.
they linked to a Zoe Williams article. It was a hyperlink from that exact phrase, far-right conspiracy theories, which she'd written a whole article about how dangerous X was now, what a slimy pit of disinformation. And one of the examples she gave was the far-right conspiracy theory that Algerian boxer was actually intersex, which is absolutely... And it was like, she was like, sued, Elon Musk was named in the libel trial.
If you're really bothered about what X is like, spend more time tweeting back, disagreeing with people, get stuck into the argument.
They could appoint a specific ex-correspondent, couldn't they? They don't have to have the whole newspaper there. It could just be their champion.
The Guardian were worried about misinformation that influences elections. They should have left in 2020 when Twitter, under its previous owners, colluded with the Democrat governments, colluded with executive branches of the government to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story. It was classed as fake news. It was actually completely valid and true. And if they want to change people's minds and, make everybody better and more socialist, surely the people like me who are on Twitter are the ones they need to convince. So stay on Twitter and convince me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home? Talking about? Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy. Man of the people.
It's all vibe. Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
6:35, Aidan's here with all the sport. What a day for Spurs yesterday.
Fantastic. Yeah, look, I'm going to focus on Spurs this time because that was an awesome performance. Never mind Manchester City's shortcomings. That was one hell of a performance from the gods. And look, there's this phrase in football now, it's kind of reared its head this season, Dr. Tottenham. Basically, if you're struggling for a win, if you've got some bad form, if you do a bit of luck, play Tottenham, they'll sort you out. That's what happened against Crystal Palace a month ago. They went to Palace. Palace hadn't won all season. Palace duly win 1-0. Home to Ipswich 2 weeks ago. Ipswich hadn't won all season. They then beat Tottenham at the White Hart Lane Stadium, or Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, rather. And yesterday, it looked as if, Man City needed a win, didn't they? Four defeats in a row. Yeah. But Tottenham absolutely crushed them. James Maddison on his 28th birthday, scoring 2 goals in the first half an hour. They added 2 more in the second half. And then Pep Guardiola's left picking through the wreckage afterwards. He said the team looked fragile. Look, they've got some significant injuries, but this is an awesome squad. This has been
3 squads.
Exactly. I don't know whether there's something structurally wrong. I mean, it should have been a really great day of celebration. I mean, they announced Pep Guardiola's contract extension earlier in the week. Rodri won, who's injured, key player, of course, won the Ballon d'Or. They had a massive light show before the game to toast all these major events, and they really sort of set the scene, the atmosphere, an intimidatory atmosphere. So whoever goes in there would have really struggled, but Tottenham didn't struggle at all. They were cut into ribbons, left, right and centre. I've not seen City play like that for years. No. And when you look at City's biggest defeat at home, now, I think the statisticians will look through the list, but because I've got a little bit more of a keen eye, I like to think anyway, their last home defeat by that margin, 2003, that wasn't even at the current stadium, that was at Main Road.
Wow.
The old place that they played it down. That was long, 2003, 21 years. So since the money's been in there, but since 2008, since Pep has been there, they've gone nowhere near this. And so an extraordinary day. And look, if they play Liverpool away next Sunday. Liverpool play today against Southampton. They could be in a situation where they're 11 points behind. And that's, as I say, this is a side who've won the last 4 Premier League titles. They've won 6 titles since Pep Guardiola's been there, and the Champions League, and the treble, of course. And this is an area that we've never really experienced.
Not against Man City, because my father-in-law is a big Man City fan, but I'd be good to see a shake-up.
Yes,
so
it would.
boring,
of
same
course it would,
teams winning everything all the time.
Without. Well, I was at Arsenal yesterday.
Oh, they had a good day.
They had a good day.
Having prawn sandwiches, weren't you, mate?
Well, no, actually, I was having Stilton and gooseberry chutney, actually, on crackers. But
keeping it real.
Yeah, I know. Well, they won 3 goals to 0, and there's some celebs in my box, I tell you. There's some A-listers. And John Burko was among them. I collared him going towards making a beeline towards the salad. There's a picture of us there for the benefit of our radio listeners. And I collared him going towards the salads, and I said to him, look, you've got to get you on GB News sometime. And he said he didn't rule it out. He said that
he's been on before, hasn't he?
Has he? What show was he on?
He's been on before. He's I don't know what show he was on. I've seen him in the green room.
Yeah.
Yes, he has been on.
Well, I tell you what, he's a massive Arsenal fan. There's no.
I was going to say a GB News fan.
No, I wouldn't go that far. But look, there's time for conversion. But a huge Arsenal fan. He would enjoy the performance yesterday. And Alan Davis was in there as well. Declan Rice popped in. Couldn't believe it. Yeah, he was out with a toe injury. There he is there on the right-hand side. Frank Warren on the left, all looking good there in front of that resplendent pitch in the background. But yeah, as I say, 3-0, and they were. I mean, it was odd for them yesterday because the Tottenham game kicks off at 5 o'clock and we were watching it, or 5:30. And Arsenal obviously hate Tottenham, but they were joyous in the fact that Spurs were winning because it meant that they can pull in some ground on Manchester City.
Yeah.
So they were torn between the two. And some great games elsewhere in the Premier League as well. Chelsea winning at Leicester, they're up to third. Crystal Palace drew 2-2 at Aston Villa. And we've got some decent games today as well, with Liverpool in action at 2 o'clock.
All right, we've got to look ahead as well to England-Japan, because that's today.
Yes, it is. Yeah, well, Jamie George, the England captain, has come out and said, look, don't boo Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones is going back there today with Japan, having managed Australia in between times. And I don't know whether given all the problems that England have got at the moment, they're almost like the Manchester City of rugby right now. And given all the issues that they're confronted with, I would say that this is I'd say Eddie Jones going back to Twickenham is the least of their worries. And I wonder whether this is quite a clever diversionary tactic by the captain to sort of make the focus or make the conversation switch towards the return of Eddie Jones, when really England have got far more pressing problems. 5 defeats in a row for them, just like Manchester City, as I mentioned. And they seem to be blowing out at the end of matches, Steve, and they don't seem to have the conditioning or the mentality to be able to see matches through. And that's a real problem for them. But I expect them, I've said this several times in the last year or so, I do expect England to prevail today at Twickenham. I expect to get the job done, and that's a 4:10 kickoff.
Yeah, you expected that last time.
I did, I know, and you'll remind me tomorrow, I'm sure, if I get it wrong.
Yeah, fingers crossed you're right this time.
Oh, do we have to mention tennis?
No, we haven't got time.
Oh, we haven't got...
We'll do it properly next hour, yeah?
Fine, good.
All right, see you in a bit.
I've got no idea what I'm talking about.
Now, we've got our poll of the day. Today we're asking, would you install a heat pump as the UK faces new net zero plans? QR code on your screen if you're watching on TV. You're bringing the live results throughout the day, and the final result in Nana's show later. If you're on the radio, just go to gbnews.com/poll.
Still to come, we will take a look at what's making the news with Andy Jones and Suzanne Holder. That's all coming up next. This is GB News with Stephen Entall.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
A Tesco store on a Scottish island has defied locals by ignoring pleas to stay closed on Sundays.
Tesco's has said that no member of staff in Stornoway would be forced to work on a Sunday and that it had received a significant amount of positive reaction to its plans.
Well, let's talk now to the Minister of the Reformed Presbyterian Church, Reverend Kenneth Stewart. Good morning to you, Reverend Stewart. You're trying to keep Sunday special, and if Tesco are going to open up, that means it won't be quite as special for you.
Well, yes, good morning, and thanks for having me on. Yes, Tesco, for some reason, they claim it's not economic advantage, but for some reason they've decided to go against hundreds of years of tradition on this island and the deeply held religious convictions of many, many people, including, of course, their own customers who are really grieved by this decision. We come obviously from the standpoint that a day of rest is effectively mandatory. It's a human right, along with the other 10 commandments which have undergirded our moral and legal fabric in society. It actually enshrines the human right to a day of rest. And of course, in the UK, that's been eroded for many, many years. Incidentally, it's still far more respected on the continent. But for us here, the Sabbath or the day of rest has been very, very important. It's not just what we do, it's who we are. And for some reason, Tesco have decided just to go against that.
And Reverend Stewart, we were actually talking about this earlier, how in European countries, I mean, even in France, which is a secular country, still very few shops will open on a Sunday.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking... This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Just to let you know, John Bercow, former Speaker of the House of Commons, was on Esther and Phil's show.
Ah.
And I know that because Esther's just messaged in morning, Esther.
Right, okay.
But yes, I knew I'd seen him when I'd left on a Saturday, so there you go. Right, let's see what's in the papers with journalist and writer Susan Holder and the journalist Andy Jones. Good morning to you both. Susan, Mail on Sunday says the Prime Minister is declaring a war on Benefits Britain.
Yes, and given the facts that I've just read, as well he might. Did you know, for instance, that the amount spent by taxpayers on attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, has gone up from £700,000 a year in 2013 to, and brace yourself, £292 million today, a rise of 41,000%.
Is that for medication or for people claiming benefits?
Well, we're trying to work out the benefits.
It's benefits.
It is the benefits.
Benefits only.
Yeah,
so why are people off with ADHD?
That was exactly what you were just saying.
Yeah, so I didn't understand the clarity on why you need a benefit if you've got ADHD in the sense that how does that benefit then inform your life? So, for instance, if you're in a wheelchair, you get, whether you're in work or not in work, you will get support, so you can get things like taxis, you can get things that, you know...
Maybe
that assist you with
modifications
your
necessary,
day-to-day care. But the ADHD, I'm not entirely sure what the money's spent on. There is benefit for parents whose children have got ADHD, so they might need an extra carer or that kind of thing. But if you have ADHD, and do ring in and let us know.
I was going to say, if maybe people could let us know, because there must be a lot of them.
you can claim personal independence payments, which if you can demonstrate ADHD affects your ability to get around town or do everyday tasks.
I mean, I don't really understand, so I you know, but some of the cleverest, most brilliant people I know, many of them journalists, have been diagnosed with ADHD.
Yes,
they're working
and they're still brilliant journalists. Correct. Yeah.
It is very difficult. It doesn't mean that you're uncontrolled.
Well, presumably, there is, like anything, there's a spectrum, isn't there?
Yeah. My nephew's got ADHD, and it's only recently been diagnosed. And suddenly on the medication, he's like, "Well, is this what life is meant to be like?"
Right. Oh,
suddenly has clarity, but he wouldn't not work because of it.
That's exactly. And maybe it's the cost of medication and everything else as well. But that kind of a rise is absolutely staggering. Yeah. And at what point as well is that rise? Can we attribute that rise? Because presumably it's GPs diagnosing that gives people the fact that they can then claim something. So I think that needs to be looked at before anything else. But no, so basically Keir Starmer has written a piece for the Daily Mail today about how he wants, jobs are about dignity and pride. It's not just about paying the bills. Fascinatingly, he says his first ever job, which he's very proud of, was working for a
toolmaker.
He was working for a local farmer. Which is interesting.
Yeah, he said that the other day when he was talking about farmers.
Which is interesting. I wonder if that farmer would employ him now, or whether that farmer would even exist, actually, if Keir Starmer has his way. But yes, and it's all about that. So there isn't much kind of content in his piece. It's all about his kind of... But what he's saying, I think most people would agree with, it's how you go about tackling that.
This is very much, Andy, isn't it, throwing red meat to Mail on Sunday readers.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's like cracking down on benefit scroungers, which is the normal rhetoric you expect from a right-wing party.
Absolutely, yeah. But to give you some figures, he believed the government say that there will be 4 million people claiming benefits by 2030. We currently spend $137 billion a year on welfare benefits. Starmer's also talked about
a lot about pension.
Quite.
Which is and the pension credit is the only thing not to have rocketed and gone up.
Yeah.
That's gone down.
Quite why they call pensions a benefit.
It's not a benefit. Those people have paid in and they've known it's not a benefit. You're right.
But the government's also talking about taking fraud payments, people who are convicted of benefit fraud, taking the money directly out of their account without having to go through the courts. But again, this requires legal changes and getting that past his own party. I think it's going to be very, very difficult.
And like you pointed out when we just talked about it earlier, those people will just create other bank accounts because you have to think like a criminal to catch a criminal. And just saying, we're going to take the money out of their bank accounts. Well, they're not going to leave them in there, are they?
No,
leave it in there if they know you're going to do that.
Certainly if you tell them you're going to do that.
Especially if you tell them you're going to do that,
we're going to stand strong against Russia, Andy, says the Sunday Express.
So this is a quote from Tom Tugendhat, the former security minister. Putin is using threats to try and frighten us into inaction. It has worked for too long. Britain must stand firm in the face of these nuclear threats. Of course, Vladimir Putin has said for the first time the N-word, the nuclear word, in discussions and public pronouncements. Although, to be honest, he has previously said a world without Russia isn't a world that we want to be part of, and this was led to be a sort of discussion of he was happy to go for mutually assured destruction in the face of whatever issues present themselves. But of course, we have upped the ante alongside America in giving missiles directly to Ukraine to fire into Russia, and obviously Russia has been importing soldiers from North Korea to escalate the conflict, bringing in second and third, fourth, fifth nations, and we're very much on this rhetoric towards World War III. We had Ukrainian frontline ministers using the World War III phrase as well, but apparently we have to stand firm. But it's easy to say, isn't it?
I mean, Susan, then we have heard this rhetoric and the sabre rattling from Putin for a long time now.
Well, that's the only comfort we can give ourselves, isn't it? That it's been said before and nothing happened. Because, to be honest, how you stand firm against nuclear Armageddon, I'm not quite sure. You can't. But what really kind of annoys me is there isn't much you could do about that, but there is a lot we could do to protect ourselves from cyber attacks. And I think that is... I don't know why we're worrying about somebody pressing a button, because really this country could be instantly shut down. Just look what happens when you just get the smallest thing. Everything we have is online. Everywhere we go, it is all computerised. It doesn't work at the best of times, I don't think, anyway. But seriously, if somebody starts to take that down, it paralyses every part of society. And there is no reason for us to be in that position. There are backup positions that you could have everywhere, but nobody wants to do that. Nobody just wants to do the simple things we used to do. People used to do all sorts of complicated things hundreds of years ago. We used to fly around the world before there were computers, but now we can't do anything unless it's on an app or it's on a computer, and that makes us so vulnerable to being paralysed as a country. I can't understand why we've let ourselves get into that position.
There were 3 city councils in the north paralysed this week, weren't there, by cyber attacks?
Yeah.
I know that you talked about it earlier.
We saw several big London hospitals being taken out,
airports, but just the supermarket. Have you ever tried to buy anything in a supermarket when their computer's not working?
No.
They will. You can have the cash in your hand and the product in your other hand. They will not sell it to you.
No, they can't do it, no. Can I ask you about this? Because loads of people are messaging in this morning on gbnews.com/yoursay about this petition for a general election. Right, and it's
I'd sign it.
And it's a proper parliament. There's a few going round, but the only one that counts, actually, is the Parliament website one. It's currently on, I'll just watch it clicking over, 253,236. And loads of people messaging saying, why aren't you talking about this? It's going to...
And what's the threshold for they have to debate it?
There isn't.
Oh, there isn't?
There isn't.
I thought there was a threshold for petitions.
The threshold is 100,000.
Yes.
At which point Parliament will consider debating it. But it's never debated in the House.
OK.
It's debated in a conference room, in one of the committee rooms. And they will consider petitions that get to 100,000. So there's no... unless this hits the millions, it's not going to make any difference, is it?
No. I totally understand people's frustrations with this government, but we're not going to... It's going to be 5 years before we have another election, I'd have thought. We can't have another general election just less than 5 months after the last one. As frustrated as we are with the current government, as frustrated...
Well, I find that rather a negative attitude, actually, that you're just saying that, well, there's no point trying. Because, actually, if people are really upset and people do think things are being mismanaged and mishandled, which, I mean, I'm a former Labour supporter. The only party I've ever been a part of was the the Labour Party many years ago, but I didn't vote for them this time because I just don't think they have an economic strategy and don't think they know what to do with the money, and that's the most important thing. But if things are so mismanaged and everybody is being affected by the decisions that they're taking, sometimes not directly, but just that the national insurance thing affecting the fact that people aren't going to have jobs.
But unless this petition reaches a figure which is more than the number of people who voted for Labour at the last election, it's moot, isn't it?
It might be moot, but people, we're in a democratic society. People have the right to kind of find their voice and find a way of doing something, and that is a way of doing something and making your voice heard. So why not?
Well, I have to say it's ticking
over
all
the
time, isn't
but
it?
also, 300,000 people signing a petition. It'd have to be 300,000 people outside government.
Well, the way it's clicking around, it's Parliament.uk/.
Again, I understand people's frustrations. I'm just saying that talking about the likelihood of them.
Yeah, and it actually doing anything. Yeah. All right, thanks both. We'll see you
Back
later.
for more later. Thank you very much.
Here's the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. We still have Storm Bert dominating our weather through today, bringing strong winds, further spells of heavy rainfall, but also some mild air too. So we have a band of rain across the southwestern parts of England. That's moving its way slowly eastwards across the Midlands and gradually into East Anglia. Towards the north of that, though, a much drier picture compared to Saturday, but blustery showers already moving through across parts of Northern Ireland and western part of Scotland. Here temperatures around 10 or 11 degrees, but across the south a very mild picture out there, highs of 15 to 16 degrees. There are warnings in force, rain and wind warnings. We could see gusts up to 70 miles per hour across western parts of Scotland through this evening, with heavy spells of showers and rain. That continuing across Northern Ireland as well, with blustery showers feeding through, gusts here up to 65 miles per hour. Across parts of central England, we still have this band of heavy rain that will gradually start moving its way eastwards through the night, moving into East Anglia and southeastern England. Behind that, turning drier with some clear spells, but some frequent showers. These most frequent across Northern Ireland and into Scotland as well, where we still hold on to some very strong winds as we start Monday morning. But it won't be as mild as we go through Monday morning, lows dipping around 7 or 8 degrees. But it will be a damp start, especially across eastern parts of England, but rain will gradually clear its way through, turning much drier and brighter behind it across the bulk of England. But further towards the west, here we'll see frequent showers moving through, some of these quite heavy, but the main focus will be the strong winds and frequent showers across the north, where they could turn wintry, with temperatures dropping closer to average. Bye-bye for now.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting the call to...
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe.
Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. Storm Bert batters Britain, leaving 3 dead and thousands without power.
But the worst is yet to come, as heavy rain and thawing snow could bring flooding to parts of the UK.
Well, yellow weather warnings for rain and wind still remaining across much of the UK. We'll keep you up to date.
We still have Storm Bert dominating our weather, bringing some heavy spells of rain and also some very strong winds. I'll have all the details coming up shortly.
And Putin ready to cripple the UK. That's according to Pat McFadden, warning the Russian president could launch a wave of cyber attacks.
Is the Queen the wicked stepmother? Well, from a very disliked woman in the UK a few decades ago to a national treasure, a new Channel 4 documentary is set to explore the rise of Queen Camilla.
As Jamie Murray is conferred an honorary degree from the University of Stirling, we'll be debating whether it's right for celebrities and royals to receive such degrees.
Health professionals have sounded the alarm over the sale of weight loss jabs online amid fears they could be leading to a spike in hospitalisations.
Good morning. A shock announcement from the world of tennis as Novak Djokovic reveals that his old rival Andy Murray is to be his new coach. Murray retired from playing last August but will join Djokovic's team for the Australian Open in January. More later.
Just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is GB News Breakfast. Good morning to you all.
We were just talking a little earlier about this petition for a new general election.
Yes.
And how, in the great scheme of things, the chances of it having any impact at all is very, very small, actually. Because even if it got debated in the actual House of Commons, which these things don't have to be at all, then, of course, there's a massive Labour majority, so it's not going to get through. So you can't imagine it having an impact. However, I was saying, if it reached millions of people who were signing it, then possibly. I have to say, I've been watching it, it is creeping up by the thousands.
Yeah, and this is at 7 o'clock, 7:02 to be precise, on a Sunday morning. So people really feel strongly.
So when I first mentioned it, about 7-8 minutes ago,
Yeah.
it's gone up by 4,000 since then. So it is going up. So, I mean, perhaps it will have some sort of political impact if so many people have... It's not going to force a general election, but it's a very interesting point that is being made on this.
We were also saying, I can't remember, I mean, we've both been in journalism for a long time, but I can't remember a government being this hated this soon after they've got into power.
No, it's I mean, even when people were saying before the election, this is going to be a very short honeymoon.
Yeah.
You sort of think, well, what's that mean, 6 months? Well, I mean, there's been no honeymoon.
No, this is honeymoon to divorce in like the blink of an eye, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, it's quite incredible. But will they take any notice of it is the other thing. I mean, we had thousands of farmers standing outside Parliament the other day, and they don't seem to take any notice of that.
No.
They've managed to alienate, right, OK, farmers, old people with the winter fuel payment, young people with the university fees, and pretty much everybody in between.
With tax rises.
Yeah. Even the unions aren't that happy with them.
No. I mean, it's fascinating. They've got time to sort it out because they won't be going anywhere very soon. Of course they won't. But it is a fascinating point in British politics that a party can get in with such a big majority, a super majority, and yet is instantly disliked.
And to be fair, not many of the general public voted for them, did they? I mean, they've got a huge majority, but it wasn't a huge turnout, and...
If you look at the individual constituencies, the margin of victory in each one was very, very slender in many of those seats. That's why they called it the Loveless landslide. But I just felt that there have been governments before which have gotten on big majorities and they've thrown out the unpopular policies early on. I thought they might by now be seeing a bit of an uplift, but just not. And the popularity rating of the Prime Minister's lowest I can remember.
Doesn't Keir Starmer, though, seem totally out of... You were saying, will this have any political impact? He seems to be having no awareness of what people want. He seems to be totally out of touch with the general people on the street.
The whole point of Labour is that you're meant to be sort of more of the people. And this government, at the moment at least, seems to be more wrapped in the Westminster bubble.
Yes. Than the Conservatives.
Than any others at the moment.
Joe, good morning, Joe, has sent a message in, and you summing up what so many people are saying. Please don't dismiss this government petition. It has increased by 12,000 since 5 a.m. this morning. British voters have been and are still being lied to on an industrial scale by this Labour Party. We cannot simply sit by and watch pensioners die of cold, farmers losing generations of work, motorists being persecuted, billions being sent overseas, and we are on our knees, not to mention the mass uncontrolled illegal immigration. So many of you agreeing with what Joe's saying.
It's a really valid point, and it's not that we're dismissing the petition per se. We're just saying, what will it actually achieve? I think it's quite right that people have their say and that this is looked at, and let's hope it gets to a big number so that the government will look at it and say, maybe we need to change our course here. But will it force a general election? It's not going to happen, is it? It won't happen.
You really hope that they're not so arrogant. They just think, we don't care, we've got a majority, we can do whatever we want.
Isn't that politicians for you, whatever colour?
Pretty much, I think so, yeah. Can't find the petition. Is there a link? That's from Mick. It's on
the Parliament website, parliament.uk.
Yeah.
You've got the petitions
there.
Yeah,
if you have a search for it, Mick, you'll find it on there.
It's gone up another 500 in the last 30 seconds. So, I mean, it's got some momentum, but so it's whether people are going to listen to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, as you saw, Nathan Rao is here.
Yes.
Our resident weather expert to talk about Storm Bert, because it was grim yesterday, Nathan, wasn't it?
It was.
And what are we left with today?
It is still grim today, Stephen. Storm Bert is an odd one. It's very, very slow moving across the UK, moving across the northeast of the UK. This is looking like the big storm of the autumn. We're coming to the end of the autumn now. We're in the last week of autumn. We're going into winter. And Storm Bert, the second storm of the autumn, is a big one. Up to 100-mile-per-hour winds were recorded last night. It was very, very windy this morning when I woke up. Snow, 6 inches of snow, very, very heavy rain, and that is going to continue through today and into tomorrow morning as the tail end of Bert sweeps off into the northeast. There are numerous weather warnings out today for rain pretty much across the whole of the country, and across the southern flank of the country there are warnings for wind of up to 70 miles per hour. And I must say, with these warnings, they aren't given lightly. There is a reason for these warnings, and we've already seen that Bert has had tragic consequences in the country overnight already. So do take care if you are out and about today. There are advisories not to travel unless it's absolutely necessary where those winds are going to be strongest. And very, very heavy rain as well. The only upside, I suppose, you could think it's going to feel a lot milder than it has done over the last week. It's been freezing and it will feel milder, but not a nice day at all for the whole of the weekend.
But the weird thing was, Nathan, this morning, I said earlier on to you that yesterday it was -3 where I live in central London, not out in the countryside, and today it was 15 degrees. I mean, I don't remember,
It's remarkable.
It was like, suddenly it's like almost bikini weather.
This is the magic of living between the Arctic and the tropics, because what happened is last week the Arctic pushed itself down over the UK, and that brought the very, very cold weather that we had with below freezing temperatures. And now we're getting the Atlantic coming in from the southwest with Bert, and that brings in milder air. And as I mentioned in the last show, it was -12.4 in Kilbrace in Scotland and 16.8 in Bude in Cornwall. So we really see that contrast. But that is what causes these storms to strengthen, is when you get the contrast of the hot and the warm and the mild and the cold air. It's where those two join that you get the fireworks, and that's what we've seen, as well as the jet stream, which is strengthening Bert. But as I said, really through the whole of the weekend and into tomorrow morning, we're going to be feeling the effects of Storm Bert. It's getting a bit cooler tomorrow. Not a very nice end to autumn at all.
I always feel a bit hypocritical when we say people should really stay off the roads, because, I mean, I've just driven 100 miles to get here this morning. But really, you should stay off the roads, shouldn't you?
Yeah, I think it's a case of being sensible and being aware. We're not saying stay off the roads, or the people are saying stay off the roads and don't go out. But if you are going to go out, make sure that you're prepared for adverse weather conditions. We say this during the cold, don't not go out. But if you are going to go on a long journey, just take a blanket with you, take a phone charger with you, take something to be prepared so you don't have to. And don't drive. Don't go walking on coastal walkways in very high winds and high seas, because the waves have done. It's about being careful and being weather aware. Very sort of buzzword, being weather aware, and taking care, because as we've seen, it can have tragic consequences. The weather can be dangerous.
I'm just reading here that experts are warning that Dartmoor, that area, could see 6 inches of rainfall in one day today.
Yeah, and this is why there are numerous flood alerts in place, because we've had a lot of rain over a short period of time, and also the snow melt with the milder temperatures, the very, very heavy snow lying and then melting as the milder temperature comes in. With that rain, there is going to be a risk of flood. We've had a lot of rain over the past 48 hours, and that is going to build up in traditionally what is one of the one of the wettest months of the year.
And the problem is with all of that, and it's always the same, isn't it? Those areas that have been most badly affected by flooding over recent months are the places more likely to be flooding again.
Yes, and even though it's been dry over the past couple of weeks, we had a lot of rain building up to that. So the water tables are already going to be higher than they would be if we'd had a very, very long, dry summer, for example. We didn't have a long, dry summer. We had quite a wet, soggy summer, and it was quite miserable. So the water tables are quite high. And if we get now sustained rainfall or heavy rainfall going through the autumn and into winter, there is going to be a risk of flooding going into Christmas. We've had Christmas floods before.
It is going to be calmer for the rest of the week?
No, unfortunately not. It's going to be a little bit calmer. It's not going to be, well, yes, it is going to be calmer than it is today. Today is pretty bad this weekend with Storm Bert, but it's an unsettled outlook through the start of the week, then a bit more settled towards the end of the week.
OK. Nathan, thank you. I've just got to bring this to you because Luke Jarvis has been in touch. Morning, Luke. And Luke clearly has lost his mind.
Oh, no.
This morning. Because he says, Stephen, ask Nathan for tie advice. Have you lost your mind?
Have I not? Have you, Stephen? Was it Stephen that asked?
Luke Jarvis,
Luke. Tie advice. Always go out with a different tie and never be seen in the same tie twice.
Never. Oh, there you go.
Hold on a minute. No, that's great advice. I love your, what was it, licorice all sorts one?
I had licorice all sorts yesterday.
Yeah, that was yesterday, right? Luke, I'm taking issue with you. You didn't read out the rest of these.
No.
Oh, well, he says they're horrible. Did he say they're?
No. Young man, no. Love Nathan. Yeah, I love Nathan as well. And for you, Dawn, Luke, please wear some stripes, spots, etc.
Block colours worked for Queen Elizabeth.
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much.
And stripes, strobe.
Yes, exactly. See, thank you. That's, what they said. Yeah.
There you go. If it's good enough for the Queen, darling, it's good enough for you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Luke, you're cancelled, by the way.
Oh, we don't cancel anybody. Right, Nathan, thank you.
Lovely to see you. Thank you.
Now, here's a smile at the end of that. You're not going to be smiling at this one. An additional 50,000 pensioners will be pushed into poverty this year, and that is according to the government's own figures.
It comes as over 10 million people prepared to lose their winter fuel allowance following changes announced in the autumn budget.
But with many people falling just short of the required threshold to claim pension credit, which then would allow you to get the winter fuel allowance as well, the decision between heating and eating is stronger than ever.
Joining us live from Essex is the CEO and founder of food bank and support group Dad's House, Billy McGranagan. Billy, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Are you seeing already an increase of older people coming to your food bank worried about the heating and eating?
We've seen an increase since July, August this year, and it's something that we've never expected this. We've been running food banks for nearly 12 years now, and every week is really different. They get different referrals from social services, schools, doctors, and we've seen a huge increase in just the inquiries on pensioners in Hammersmith and Fulham and Kensington and Chelsea, where, as you say, they're just over the threshold done, and they don't know what to do next, because that fuel allowance makes the difference of heating and eating during November, December, January, when it gets cold and the flats and houses are absolutely freezing, So, yeah, we've seen a huge increase, and it's something I can't get my head around why Labour have done that. It's unbelievable.
I mean, I dread to think what it must be like dealing with these individuals then, because, I mean, it's got to be a strain, hasn't it? Because when you're seeing so many people who are in distress over their situations, that's going to be really tough.
Well, Stephen, we're different from a normal food bank because we are a single dad's charity, and our food bank was set up for dads 12 years ago, but dads didn't turn up, it was just mums. So from there, we built up a brilliant reputation in helping anyone who needs a helping hand. And we have lunch clubs where we have pensioners who come in and they talk to us, and some of them break down in tears because they don't know what to do next. And also what people forget is food insecurity, that people might go without food for a day. And when they do come into Dad's house, they might not know that we run a food bank, and they are so relaxed about it that they can't believe that there's something there to help them without the bureaucracy that goes along with signing up for a food bank, you know? So we have a brilliant communication with our clients, you know? We've built up a really good relationship with them, and that takes the strain of helping people because it's a two-way street, you know? And I love it. I absolutely love it because we do so many different projects within Dad's House that we have an outreach as well, that we actually deliver food and we give small grants.
Yeah, Billy, the one thing I've found with talking about this subject endlessly, which we have done, and my mum's in her 80s, many of her friends are, we're talking about an incredibly proud generation as well. They don't like asking for help. They don't like going in there with their hands out saying, I need help. So going to food banks, people that are going to food banks in this generation are going to be really struggling with the concept that they've been forced into doing that. I mean, most of these are people that have worked all their lives, and they're in this situation at their most vulnerable years that they have to hold their hands out and ask for help.
Absolutely, Dawn. And what I'll do, I'll send you and I'll give you an open invitation to come to Dad's House and meet our clients, you know, because I love old school. My mother, God bless her, she would be nearly 90 now, you know, and she wouldn't ask for help. Hence why food insecurity, no one really talks about that. So when they come into Dad's House, we're not a normal food bank, Dawn. You know, we've got guitar lessons, we've got breakfast clubs, we've got yoga. So our food is there. And when you build that relationship, that's when people tell you things. You know, they tell you that they've not had any breakfast, they've not had any lunch. As an example, one of our clients, she's a wee pensioner, beautiful woman, and she's got a private pension. She's worked all her life. And she burst into tears because she wasn't entitled to any of the allowances that the government was giving everyone this time last year because she just over that threshold. And I burst into tears because she couldn't buy an ice cream. All her money was gone on towards the council tax that she wasn't entitled to, and the housing benefit she wasn't entitled to. You know, so when it comes to older people, you have to look after them. You have to let them know there's no bureaucracy in Dad's House. You know, and when they, as I say, when they do come into Dad's house, some of them play the guitar.
I mean, but
it's not all doom and gloom.
No, well, and that's good because actually it's good that you're providing a place where people can go and have a good time, actually, and some companionship. I just find it staggering, Billy, that we are in a position where we don't seem to be showing respect for our elders, for those people who have worked all their lives. We don't seem to be saying, we will look after you now. I mean, as a society, I mean, obviously you are doing exactly that, but I can't get my head around that we have descended into this pit, really.
Well, no, I agree with you. I was talking to Annabelle about that last night, and Annabelle's going to set up an art class within Dad's House and Essex for older people, you know? So she's a brilliant artist, and the respect that people deserve is there, you know, but people don't know how to help. That's the thing. The communities that we were brought up in, they no longer exist. So what we do within our area of Hammersmith and Fulham, Kensington, Chelsea, with the Elscote development, we have a brilliant social impact that we've got an open door policy for anyone who wants to come in and have a cup of tea. You know, so our age group ranges between 2-year-old and 90. In fact, no, old Rusty's 100. You know, he was 100 last month. Wow. So he still comes to Dad's house, has his lunch and has a little chat, you know, and his carers bring him, they drive him down, and then he walks in with his wee basket. He's so independent, and honestly, and they won't take tin food, it's all fresh.
Well,
and it's still cooked.
Good on him. Well, look, Billy McGranahan, really good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. And
Okay,
I like the fact that there are a mix of ages there, because I think there's nothing better, particularly than young people and old people mixing
It's
together.
great. I just want to read this quickly. Elaine, good morning, Elaine. The older pensioners are all in the old state pension and probably work from the age of 14. It's disgraceful. Summing up how many of us feel, myself included.
Right, 7:20. Let's have a look at some of the other key stories this morning.
OK. Delegates at COP29 in Azerbaijan have agreed a new climate finance target. They pledged $300 billion, up from $100 billion a year, to help poorer countries deal with the impacts of climate change, with rich countries leading the payments. It was feared that the conference would collapse after some of the poorest nations had walked out of the talks.
A number of unidentified drones have been spotted over 3 air bases in Britain, according to the United States Air Force. The incidents occurred between the 20th and 22nd of November and saw unmanned aerial systems spotted over RAF Lakenheath, RAF Mildenhall and RAF Feltwell.
And 2 tennis rivals have united. Novak Djokovic has appointed his former rival, Andy Murray, to be his new tennis coach. Murray is set to join Djokovic's team in the off-season, helping him prepare for the Australian Open. Aidan McGee will have all the details on that story later.
There's loads of you getting in touch saying it's really lovely to see old people and young people together, and thank you. We do work together occasionally.
I think it's great. I mean, you've got this... I wasn't even really listening to you then. I wonder why. That's not that much of a gap.
No, we're actually a very similar age.
We are very similar age, yeah. Not IQ, obviously. One of us is far higher than the other. But no, the reason I wasn't listening to you, Stephen Dixon, is because I have here the pension credit application form.
Oh, have you?
That people are expected to fill out if they want to.
Complicated.
It is very complicated. There are 243 questions on it. It's about 47 pages. But 850 pensioners do not currently claim 850,000 pensioners do not currently claim what they're entitled to. Now, you can download this form, you can do it online, and if you feel like you might be entitled to it, but you need some help, there are charities and organisations out there that will help you fill it in, please do so, because you're missing out on money that could actually help you get through this winter. It is complicated, but it's worth persevering, because not only do you get the pension credit, but you'll also get that winter fuel payment, and it helps with so many other bills as well. It's worth doing.
It's a pain in the neck.
It is a pain in the neck, and
it's... you need to do... Has your partner come to the UK under the family reunion? I mean, heck, it's every question you can think of.
But there are 850,000 pensioners who, if they all suddenly claimed this, by the way, and you are entitled to it, it's not charity, by the way, you deserve this.
Yes, you do.
If you all claimed for it, the money the government raised from the winter fuel payment would be wiped out.
Yeah.
Pointless. Yeah. And you're suffering.
But you get it. Get it. Right, let's have a look at the weather for you.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. We still have Storm Bert dominating our weather through today, bringing strong winds, further spells of heavy rainfall, but also some mild air too. So we have a band of rain across the southwestern parts of England. That's moving its way slowly eastwards across the Midlands and gradually into East Anglia. Towards the north of that, though, a much drier picture compared to Saturday, but blustery showers already moving through across parts of Northern Ireland and western western part of Scotland. Here, temperatures around 10 or 11 degrees, but across the south, a very mild picture out there, highs of 15 to 16 degrees. There are warnings in force, rain and wind warnings. We could see gusts up to 70 miles per hour across western parts of Scotland through this evening, with heavy spells of showers and rain. That continuing across Northern Ireland as well, with blustery showers feeding through, gusts here up to 65 miles per hour. Across parts of central England, we still have this band of heavy rain that will gradually start moving its way eastwards through the night, moving into East Anglia and southeastern England. Behind that, turning drier with some clear spells, but some frequent showers. These most frequent across Northern Ireland and into Scotland as well, where we still hold on to some very strong winds as we start Monday morning. But it won't be as mild as we go through Monday morning, lows dipping around 7 or 8 degrees. But it will be a damp start, especially across eastern parts of England, but rain will gradually clear its way through, turning much drier and brighter behind it across the bulk of England. But further towards the west, here we'll see frequent showers moving through, some of these quite heavy, but the main focus will be the strong winds and frequent showers across the north, where they could turn wintry, with temperatures dropping closer to average. Bye-bye for now.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
So many people getting in touch. I'm not going to go through what you're saying, Zaphod, but Zaphod Beeblebrox has been in touch, which I just love, that you must be the biggest geek ever, because that's a character from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Right, is it? I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Zaphod. I mean, brilliant. So just well done for naming yourself Zaphod Beeblebrox. Takes me back a few decades.
I've got no idea. Well, your geeks are taking over.
Oh, geeks are great.
Yeah. Being a geek now is more popular than football. Playing geeky stuff like you do is more popular than going to football. Geeky stuff.
I don't know what geeky stuff I do, apart from watching Star Trek.
No, you into your computers and geeky stuff.
I don't play games.
No. Well, not those sort of games. No. Play mind games with me, like implying that I'm a lot older than you.
Yeah, Leslie on that one says, don't listen to Stephen Dawn, you look younger than him.
Thank you very much.
Well, thanks very much.
Okay. I like it, thank you very much.
I wish I could repeat what was just said in my ear. Right, here's your chance to win £50,000 in tax-free cash. It's the biggest cash prize we've ever given away, and it could be yours. Here's how you enter.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
OK, I like this one. Still to come, should celebrities and royals and some TV presenters receive honorary degrees? That's next. This is GB News Breakfast with Stephen and Dawn.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment. This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark meets and My Take at 10. Democracy is a funny old thing. And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it. Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it. That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, who wouldn't want a doctorate? That's what I say, to be perfectly honest.
Dr. Stephen Dixon.
Dr. Stephen Dixon.
Yes, I'm...
and there you go.
Look at you there in your frock.
That's me receiving my second doctorate. That's me getting my first.
You look like you're wearing a flag.
Someone's just said to me, yeah, that must be about 30 years ago. It was 2016. Thank you very much indeed.
God, you've aged.
Well, I've got my glasses on now. I was wearing contacts back in the day. But look at that. What a wonderful honour it was from Nottingham Trent University and the University of Bedfordshire.
What for?
Well, for my career. And just shut up.
They give doctorates out for that level
doing
of...
this. Hey, look, I've been at the top of my game for decades, apparently. Well, I'm not the only one. Actually.
No, you're not.
Jamie Murray's got one, and the Queen both received honorary doctorates this week. The Queen for contributions to literature, Jamie Murray for his sporting excellence.
Oh, God. Funny enough, I don't have one, but this... Who would have thought?
Wouldn't give you an honorary GCSE, darling.
Thank you very much. But he does love me, honestly. But this whole debate has prompted the question, is it right for celebrities, royals and random TV presenters to receive such degrees?
Well, let's talk to the actor, the lovely Peter Egan. Good to see you, Peter. And former head teacher Chris McGovern. Good to see you,
Who's also lovely, by the way.
He's also lovely, but I'm agreeing more with Peter this morning.
That's why I'm saying Peter's lovely.
Because you've got a degree, haven't you, Peter? Or an honorary doctorate?
Yes, I have an honorary doctorate. I was given one in 2017 by the University of Winchester for my contribution to animal welfare and social justice, yeah.
And that's a great thing, is it? Because you are so well known for your animal welfare work, and we've talked about it many times over the years. And actually, the fact that that is recognised in a public forum brings more attention to that work, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does. Yes, I mean, I was honoured to get the honour, but I mean, I don't know whether. I mean, I'm ambivalent about it because I think if people lobby to get honours and use that as a means to promoting their image or their business or whatever, I'm not entirely sure that I am in favour of that. But if someone like the University of Winchester wanted to acknowledge what I had been doing, I was delighted, and of course I support that because it came to me. But it's not something, I don't call myself Dr. Egan, and I don't use it in my biog. I mean, I just happen to have it, and I'm delighted to have it.
OK, I mean, Chris, what do you make of this? I mean, to be fair to young Stephen here, he doesn't call himself Dr. Dixon either. So, I mean, but it's all a bit of a fuss, and, about nothing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we have an honours system already, and I think what universities are inclined to do, I don't want to diminish the achievements of individuals, what universities are inclined to do is to sprinkle a bit of stardust to sort of brighten up the degree ceremonies they have. So, there are deserving cases, but, would President Gaddafi or Robert Mugabe be a deserving case? President Putin's got a number of degrees, not from the UK. my own view is that there's only one person ever who really deserved an honorary degree, and that was Kermit the Frog. He got one from a New York university, and a fake degree for a fake character seems fair enough. But no, I'm not in favour. I think it brings universities into disrepute. In America, some of them have banned them. In Italy, they were banned a few years ago. Students who work very hard over several years, and to get a PhD, a doctorate, could be several years, they don't deserve to have their degrees diminished by handing it out to someone like Danny Minogue. Danny Minogue got one at Southampton University, Solent University, had never visited the city. So I think it brings universities into disrepute, but I don't want to diminish the achievements of people who get them, because some of them deserve them, many don't.
Peter?
Yes, I mean, I certainly wouldn't disagree with anything that was the gentleman just said. I mean, if it is to sprinkle a bit of stardust on what could possibly be a boring occasion, I certainly wouldn't agree with that at all. And I think, as I said earlier, I think if people are lobbying or getting people to lobby for them in order to get some kind of gong that's going to promote them in a way that they haven't worked for it, but they may have donated for it, or they may have used other means to get it, then I would be completely opposed to that. But, we live in a society where people like to see people get awards. People get awards for music and for acting, and I got a gong, if you like, in 1974. I got the most promising newcomer to films from what is now called BAFTA. It was called SEFTA in those days. I got the award for a film called The Hireling, and that was 74, and I wasn't offered a film for 7 years after that. So it didn't actually do me much good as far as that, in my long career, as far as that is concerned. But certainly, I don't have any strong feelings about it. I think there are, and I'm not including myself when I say this, I think there are people who do great work who should be honoured. And I think that there are people who are not very, very well known who do great work behind the scenes who should be honoured, and it's not always the people who are most visible. I think if you've got I'm just trying to randomly think of something, but if you've got a great postman or a great dustman or whatever who do fantastic work and are making great contributions to people in the community, they should be honoured as far as I'm concerned. The people who do the hardest and the most unrewarding work, I think, should be honoured, yes.
I think that's a very fair point. We are out of time.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately. I was going to say, Chris, just very, very quickly, would you ever accept one?
I would get the dishonourable award, I think, because I've upset so many people in the education world over the years. So the dishonourable, yes, I'd accept that.
Yeah, you probably would. Chris McGovern, Peter Egan, whose career has gone in ever-decreasing circles ever since that SEFTA. Really good to see you this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very much, cheers.
That was a wonderful TV series.
So you and Kermit, huh?
No, ever-decreasing circles.
No, you and Kermit. On the same level.
Yeah.
With your honorary degree.
Yes, I do a lot of charity work as well, but I don't like to go on about it.
What we need is Kermit next to you there.
Yeah,
there you go.
Right. Shut up. We're going to go through the sport in a minute.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe.
Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect And then you throw me into the mix, and trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment. This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark Meets at My Take at 10. Democracy is a funny old thing. And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it. Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it. That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Aidan McGee's here, 7:41 morning.
Good morning.
Andy Murray's got a job.
He has indeed. Well, he looks as if he was going to walk... Well, not necessarily walk away from tennis, but I couldn't see him going to coaching when he retired last August. And it was a long goodbye, wasn't it? I mean, he really tried and get back to the top of tennis in the last couple of years of his career. You had to admire his bloody-minded determination. But, yeah, Novak Djokovic, his great rival, his great nemesis as well. I mean, he lost 4 Grand Slam finals with him at the Australian Open, and another one at the French, I think it was. No, not the French. Was it the Australian? Sorry, no, he beat him in... Wimbledon.
Wimbledon. Oh, that one?
That one, yeah. So he's lost 5 Grand Slam finals against him. And look, Novak Djokovic, historically, he's had lots of coaches. He's been in the game for 20 years, but he likes a big-name coach in his corner. He's had Goran Ivanisevic in the past. He's had Boris Becker. He's had Andre Agassi. And I think that plays into the fact that he likes someone who's been there at the sharp end and has been in winning Grand Slam titles for that psychological edge in those matches. And he believes that he can go and win a 25th Grand Slam title, which he already holds the record at 24, 2 ahead of Rafa Nadal, 4 ahead of Roger Federer. And he believes he can go along in January, 6 weeks from now, and go down to Melbourne and claim another one. So I can understand why he's done it. I just didn't think, to me, looking at it, I thought Andy Murray would be somebody who, after so long at the top and so many injury battles, would look to take a break from the sport. But instead, he's gone right back in.
Do they like each other?
Yeah, they like each other. There's a lot of respect. There's a lot of respect there, and they're almost exactly the same age, and their careers for a while. I mean, you think about it. Yes, he's considered his nemesis. Djokovic is considered Murray's nemesis, but there were some key wins that Murray chalked up over Djokovic, especially in the US Open in 2012. And, of course, in the Wimbledon as well, Wimbledon final, that he beat him in. So it's a surprise pairing, but, I think it could work well. And I think Djokovic, when you consider Nadal's off the scene now, Federer's quite long gone, and I think it's opened up for him in Australia, no question about that.
OK, we've got to leave it there, Aidan.
No worries.
Time for time. We've got to squeeze the papers in. They're coming up in just a moment.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Maria Yeah, potholes, the bane of everybody that uses a road, whether you're a car driver or a cyclist. As a cyclist, are even worse. How have we got into this situation where our roads are in such a bad state?
Well, part of it is to do with actually our climate. In somewhere like, say, Sweden, like the snow will fall on the ground, it will stay there for months. Whereas here we've got what's called a freeze-thaw climate, where the water comes down, then we might have a cold snap and it freezes, and the water within the pothole will then expand and make the pothole bigger. Then we might have a mild spell, and then that process repeats. So, we do actually need extra funding to acknowledge the fact that, we just live in a climate where we're sort of particularly vulnerable to potholes.
Why? I mean, the fact that this happens, these weather conditions happen, is no great surprise to anybody. Why has the problem been ignored for so long?
I think what's happened is we've had like short-term funding. So it's like, oh, there's a pothole, let's patch it up. Oh, there's another one, let's patch it up. But the patches aren't actually really that strong, so then they break down again. So, really what we need is to have roads completely resurfaced, and then they'll just be pothole-free for a very long time. And that really is how funding should be. That's the direction funding should go in, as opposed to just sort of like dribs and drabs here and there.
Do you think this government are going to be good for the motorist, or is there indeed a war on the motorist still?
The different parties come in and they've all got different policies that they wheel out, then they cancel the policies, and then there's so much lack of transparency. Like, for example, with the pothole issue, sometimes the government, whichever government is in office, will do some big showboating about how they're going to give X amount of potholes, and you still think that sounds really good.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Time for the papers at 7:47 with the journalist Susan Holder and the journalist Andy Jones. Welcome to you both. Susan, let's start with the Sunday Telegraph, should we? Career criminals.
Yes.
Could be spared jail.
Well, they are being spared jail. That's the problem, actually. With some 3,325 offenders with more than 50 convictions each have not been sent to prison when they appeared in court for sentencing just in the last year. And that's triple what used to happen. So... Shabana Mahmood, the Justice Secretary, has said that prolific offenders should spend longer in jail, so the government are kind of looking towards that. But the person who's got involved in this piece in the Daily Telegraph, which is quite interesting, there's a huge piece about him on the inside, is an academic called Dr. Lawrence Newport, who's an interesting person because he was the person who decided to kind of go on the offensive with XL bullies and launched a campaign to kind of look at that, and within 2.5 months had achieved the ban on XL bullies. So he's doing the same in his Crush Crime campaign now. He's wading in on this and saying that we need to look at the fact that the career criminals who count for half of the nation's crimes while representing just 1 in 10 offenders. And it's things like shoplifting and burglary and all those kind of things that are really out of control that are so prolific. So he's launching this, which I think is quite a good thing. If he achieved what he achieves with this that he did with the XL bullies, whether you agree with that or not.
Why should this guy even need to do this? The statistics of this are absolutely damning. 3,325 people last year who had more than 50 convictions still didn't go to prison in 2023.
I mean, what incentive have they got to stop?
Well, quite. Well, there's actually the shoplifting itself. There's like you can shoplift up to a certain point, can't you? Yeah. And that's not even a crime.
One individual, 30 years old, had more than 76 convictions, including theft, burglary, criminal damage, violent crime. He was arrested with a knife and Class A drugs. Yeah. He assaulted a police officer, and he still only got a 3-month suspended sentence.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And you have this position where we know only most of the crime in the UK is committed by a tiny fraction of of people. We're in a position where we're letting out violent criminals while sending people to prison for social media offences. Some of them very serious, you know, inciting riots. I condemn those fully. But we're in a position where we're letting out persistent, aggressive, violent criminals, but sending people to prison for social media offences. It's ridiculous. When people go to bed at night, they worry about violent crime. They worry, is my wife going to be safe coming home from work? Are my kids safe coming home at night? Will my car be there in the morning? Violent crime, theft, burglary, our conviction rates on it are absolutely rubbish. Sending people to prison for things like this has to be a priority.
Yeah, well, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say.
Yeah. Oh, can we stay with Andy? I like this story. Nerdy games more popular than footy.
Yeah. So, nerdy games, and this is a Daily Star story, geek culture is officially bigger than football, according to a latest study. There's more people... Nerdy games is a broad church, anything from Dungeons and Dragons, video games, e-sports, all of these sort of things. The number of people who play these, up to 61%, and it's bigger than football. So we're staying in rather than getting more exercise. We're spending thousands of hours online. Is that good for our mental health, etc.? But, I mean, nerdy games can be quite broad church. I mean, Games Workshop, which is where you paint the figures, put the pieces out on boards, etc., it's now worth £4.5 billion. It's one of the great successes of the UK high street. And so even though people are a bit sniffy about these sort of things,
and we're not sure how official the report is, but anecdotally I can say I think this is probably true. I think the younger generation, they're more of an indoor generation, aren't they? They're not standing on the terraces in the cold as much. They quite like to be indoors and cosy. But also my son, who's 30, and all his friends, he's the dungeon master. Django's the dungeon master and organises all the games for all his... But the thing is, it connects them all around the world. So he's got friends in America they regularly play. It's a way of keeping in touch, which I think is another thing that, you know, you go to the football with your mates, great. But if your mates live on the other side of the world, actually gaming is quite good on consoles or Dungeons and Dragons. They kind of do all play that.
So it's a generation.
It's a generation thing. So I can understand why it's so popular and why what they get out of it. Actually, I think those kind of things are quite good.
Yeah, Dungeon Master is a gaming term. Susan doesn't actually have a dungeon in her home.
Well, I wouldn't like to comment.
Yes.
Can we talk about contraception for squirrels?
For squirrels.
This is the Mail on
How are they
Sunday.
getting condoms on squirrels? I can't believe it.
I mean, that's a whole show in itself, isn't it? No, what it is, it's AI again. So it's AI. They're trying to prevent the eradication of red squirrels, which, of course, are native.
I hardly see them now.
Well, you do hardly see them. And there is kind of statistically, there are 287,000 reds. I don't know who counted them, but somebody did. But 2.7 million greys. Greys are obviously an import. They're the American squirrel that came in the 1890s. And what they're doing in woods is they're using AI cameras trained on food boxes. Some of the food boxes are normal food and the other is laced with contraception, and only the grey squirrels are being let into the contraceptive ones and the red squirrels can eat food. So it's trying to kind of prevent, rather than cull them, it's trying to prevent rather than cull, so that red squirrels will survive because they're native to this country. And we had a conversation about do they interbreed? I always thought they were being overtaken because maybe they'd been bred out, but they're not reproductively compatible.
No.
If you ever wanted to know.
Yeah, and Isle of Wight and Scotland, we need to introduce them in the middle part of the country. Loads on the Isle of Wight, but...
Do you know who Tufty is, Dawn?
Yes.
Yes, I see a blank look there. You're not...
Tufty, another name.
The Tufty Club. I was in the
Tufty Club.
I was in the Tufty Club. So there was a red squirrel was used as the Tufty Club emblem. Of teaching you how to cross the road. And actually, you don't see as many squash squirrels as you do hedgehogs, do you? So I suppose maybe that's why. Maybe they are good at crossing the road. I never understood why they used that myself.
No, Tufty. I know. My dad was in the Tufty Club, I think.
Oh, great, thanks.
I'm in the Tufty Club now. I'm losing my head.
I was in the Ice Gem Club. I don't remember. Do you remember Ice Gems?
I don't remember there being a club
for Ice Gems.
Club.
What? Because you're addicted to them or something?
Well, I don't know. I don't remember what it involved, but I remember being
just
in the
eating Ice Gems in a club.
Ice Gem,
we should start that.
You know what Ice Gems are? Little tiny biscuits with basically sugar on them.
You can still get Ice Gem.
Lots of E numbers, I think, in an Ice Gem.
That explains a lot, Susan. In my case,
No, I was never a fan of stuff like that. But I did like those.
Or pink wafers.
Oh no, I like pink wafers, and I like the little rings with the
a party ring.
Party
ring. You can still get party rings,
Yeah, I like to party ring.
Yeah.
And the custard cream. Oh, don't get me going. Don't get me going.
What's your favourite biscuit? gbnews.com/your say.
I always get some going.
Well, it does,
Yeah.
no. It says here. And do you dunk?
Yes.
That's another one. Yeah.
Right, see you later. Here's the
See you,
weather.
Andy, thank you.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. We still have Storm Bert dominating our weather through today, bringing strong winds, further spells of heavy rainfall, but also some mild air too. So we have a band of rain across the southwestern parts of England. That's moving its way slowly eastwards across the Midlands and gradually into East Anglia. Towards the north of that, though, a much drier picture compared to Saturday, but blustery showers already moving through across parts of Northern Ireland and western part of Scotland. Here temperatures around 10 or 11 degrees, but across the south a very mild picture out there, highs of 15 to 16 degrees. There are warnings in force, rain and wind warnings. We could see gusts up to 70 miles per hour across western parts of Scotland through this evening, with heavy spells of showers and rain. That continuing across Northern Ireland as well, with blustery showers feeding through, gusts here up to 65 miles per hour. Across parts of central England, we still have this band of heavy rain that will gradually start moving its way eastwards through the night, moving into East Anglia and southeastern England. Behind that, turning drier with some clear spells, but some frequent showers. These most frequent across Northern Ireland and into Scotland as well, where we still hold on to some very strong winds as we start Monday morning. But it won't be as mild as we go through Monday morning, lows dipping around 7 or 8 degrees. But it will be a damp start, especially across eastern parts of England, but rain will gradually clear its way through, turning much drier and brighter behind it across the bulk of England. But further towards the west, here we'll see frequent showers moving through, some of these quite heavy, but the main focus will be the strong winds and frequent showers across the north, where they could turn wintry, with temperatures dropping closer to average. Bye-bye for now.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British giveaway. Watching on demand. Good luck.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Storm Bert batters Britain. 3 dead, thousands left without power.
But the worst is yet to come, as heavy rain and thawing snow could bring flooding to parts of the UK.
Well, yellow warnings for rain and wind are still across much of the UK. We'll keep you up to date.
We still have Storm Bert dominating our weather, bringing some heavy spells of rain and also some very strong winds. I'll have all the details coming up shortly.
And Putin ready to cripple the UK. That's according to Pat McFadden, warning the Russian president could launch a wave of cyber attacks.
Is the Queen a wicked stepmother? Well, from one of the most disliked women in the UK to now a national treasure, of course, a new Channel 4 documentary is set to explore the rise of Queen Camilla.
And health professionals have sounded the alarm over the sale of weight loss jabs online amid fears they could be leading to a spike in hospitalisations.
It was a fifth straight loss and a heaviest home defeat in 21 years. This is truly uncharted territory for Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola, who saw his side thumped 4-0 at home by Tottenham. In tennis, Novak Djokovic appoints Andy Murray as his coach. And in F1, Max Verstappen wins a fourth successive Formula One title.
Just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is GB News, and a very good morning to you.
Just to bring you up to date on that petition, because we're looking at it because loads of people got in touch this morning. So you're looking at this petition on the government's petition website, calling for a general election. We've been saying, well, what impact will it have? Will anyone actually listen to what people are saying? Well, it sort of depends on the numbers, actually. It's 282,129 at the moment, which is a lot in and of itself. But what is striking is that it is going up by the thousands. That's gone up 30,000 in the last hour.
Yeah, literally, as we're sitting looking, and bearing in mind it is only 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and it's just clicking through. So many people are so angry about this government after such a short space of time.
Which is it's remarkable. It is remarkable. Now, whether this will have any impact, of course, is highly questionable. Because even if it was properly debated, when they say they'll debate these, they don't debate them in the chamber like an official debate. They just debate them in one of the committee rooms and talk about it for a bit.
Yeah.
But even if this went to a proper, full-on debate, of course, the government's going to win because it's got a massive majority. But it still could send a few shockwaves.
Yeah, this is the point. This is the point of this. It's like it shouldn't be. We shouldn't ignore it. We shouldn't dismiss it because people need a voice. You know, the government does have a big majority, but that doesn't mean if you feel strongly about how the government are treating you, certainly if you're a pensioner or a farmer, then this is on the official government website, and you can just sign it on there now. And thousands of you are, as I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just gone up 1,000 since
it's quite defeatist, and we shouldn't be that defeatist to say, well, they won't do anything, because at least...
the problem is we know how politicians work.
Yeah, they ignore the people they're meant to be serving.
Yeah.
Isn't that a thing?
Yeah. So it's now 283,154. I mean, I've never seen anything go up so quickly in my life. Which is quite something.
You're advertising it. People are getting on.
Well, people will be. Yeah, well, people will be, and it'll be doing the rounds on Twitter and all the rest of it.
Yeah, but we know from people that message into this programme every single day how angry many of you are. And how strong... I've just read a message, sorry, I've lost your name now, someone who went to visit their elderly neighbour the other day, and they opened the door in a woolly hat, scarf, gloves and a fleece jacket because they were terrified to put their heating on. This is Britain 2024, under a Labour government who care for, the working people.
It's very odd. It's very, very odd. I don't understand it.
No, I'm angry. It's a bit like Jeremy Clarkson said the other day. He's a farmer, but it's not talking for farmers because it's different. It's got separate income streams, but it's angry on their behalf. I'm not a pensioner, not quite yet. Before you say anything,
give it a fortnight.
But thank you. I've got a fortnight. but I'm angry on behalf of my mum and her friends and everybody else out there who's messaging in.
It's something has gone very, very wrong very quickly. And it's got to be addressed.
No,
and maybe this will put pressure on to do that.
No impact assessment on the farming policy or the winter fuel allowance policy. They didn't sit and think, well, if we do this, what will happen?
Which I can't get my head around. So that's the basics of what you do, isn't it? Anyway.
No, the basics of what you do when you first come into power is saying, it's that lot's fault. They were in power for 14 years. We've got a black hole. You know, I'm going to throw myself into the black hole if someone else mentions it again.
Right, let's crack on. We're going to move away from this utterly depressing situation to another one, which is the weather, the great British weather. Storm Bert battered Britain yesterday. Strong winds and heavy snow across many parts of the UK.
Yeah, it's a multi-hazard weather event. It's left 3 people dead in a spate of weather-related road incidents and thousands of homes without power.
Well, there are dozens of weather warnings in place today. Heavy rain and thawing snow, which could lead to floods, plus the wind as well.
Yeah, very windy. That's why people across the country have been urged to stay home as the weather causes travel delays across the UK.
Well, if you want to talk travel, then you talk to Simon Calder, who joins us now from Saltburn. So, I mean, what can we expect, Simon, in terms of road, rail and, indeed, the aircraft as well?
OK, well, yeah, I can do roads, trains, boats, planes, and I'm going to launch a petition to get a coat. It was actually dry when I started, when I set up for this, and I haven't got my coat with me, but I'm going to get one. OK, so on the roads, exactly as you have been saying, you absolutely need to take care of there, in particular for flooding. That is now going to be the big risk. Of course, we saw several tragedies, I'm so sorry to say, yesterday involving Storm Bert. And if you don't have to travel today by road, that will be an advantage, so much riskier than rail. But if I can turn to the trains, that's not going to be very much fun in a lot of places. We saw massive disruption yesterday. Avanti West Coast, for instance, saying don't go north of Preston, which, as you will know, Stephen, includes lovely Lancaster, the Lake District up to Glasgow. They're still saying if you've got a ticket for yesterday, you can use it tomorrow. We have cancellations on a large number of northern services. Now, the thing is, on a Sunday, we normally get a large number of cancellations on northern services anyway, so it's slightly difficult to find out what is going on. The Exeter to, looking at the south of the country, Exeter to Oakhampton, that has got no trains, I think, because of flooding. And right across Scotland, the story is speed restrictions. Because, of course, if you've got heavy rain, if you've got flooding, then there's a danger that there could be landslides. So that's going to slow a lot of journeys down. If you were hoping to catch a Caledonian McBrain ferry, if we can move on to the sea, well, that's going to be quite challenging, particularly out of Oban and Mallaig. Lots of cancellations there. And they're even cancelling some services tomorrow, the 7 o'clock from Stornoway to Ullapool, going from the Outer Hebrides to the Scottish mainland. That's already been cancelled. If you were thinking of flying, well, Logan Air, the Scottish regional airline, has cancellations. But I tell you what, I have just been counting up the number of cancellations at Heathrow. I'm over 100 now. Most of them British Airways, short-haul European and domestic flights. They have basically just sort of taken a knife to the schedule. I'm assuming, and I haven't been able to, I've been trying to check this, but I haven't been made certain of it yet, that if heavy winds are forecast, and we're expecting gusts, particularly going from south to north, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, then the rate at which planes can land at Heathrow has to be reduced. It's the world's busiest 2-runway airport, and wholesale cancellations begin. If your British Airways flight isn't affected, that's great, but there's also cancellations, for instance, on Aer Lingus to Cork, to Shannon, to Dublin, Helsinki on Finnair, and to Frankfurt on Lufthansa. So pretty grim in the skies, I'm afraid.
Simon, has Gatwick Airport recovered from the security alert? Is there still any knock-on effect to that as well?
Great question, Dawn. What a miserable Friday it was. And I think there's perhaps more to come out of this. If I can just run through what happened just before 10:30 Friday morning, a really busy day at Britain's second busiest airport. Suddenly, South Terminal everybody out, and the evacuation was apparently very well carried out. The reason was a couple of passengers had a suspicious item in their hand luggage, and of course no risks are taken, but it took, I think, 5 hours before passengers were allowed back in. We had getting on for 100 cancellations of flights. That's 15,000 people, absolute minimum. Huge amounts of emotional and economic upset from an awful lot of people. I was there on Friday afternoon, and it was just miserable, particularly actually for foreign visitors coming in. They had no clue what was going on. You're suddenly at North Terminal, which did keep going, and there's no shuttle, there's no trains. What do? Well, actually, you walk to a little station called Hawley, and I was trying to organise kind of walking parties there. So the thing is, Dawn, that we then found out, Sussex Police put out a statement saying, obviously, abundance of caution, etc., not taking any risks with safety, and the 2 passengers were allowed to continue their journey, which kind of suggests that perhaps it wasn't quite as threatening as one might think. Now, obviously, nobody wants to take chances with security, but it's a question of balance. And honestly, so much upset was caused, so many missing their holidays. And to answer your very good question, there will still be people this morning desperately trying to get where they need to be.
Just very briefly, because we're out of time, Simon, what are you doing up in Saltburn?
Well, because this is a beautiful part of the country. I've never been here before. If it wasn't slightly challenging weather, you can see behind me the wonderful County Durham coast. This is just a beautiful location, lovely Victorian buildings, and I'm sort of very happy to be here, but I'll be even happier in a minute when I go back into my hotel and get a cup of tea.
Yeah, don't blame you. Really good to see you, Simon. Thank you.
Oh, I do love Simon Calder.
It's brilliant. Well, you know, if what he doesn't know isn't worth knowing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love the fact that he cycles everywhere. I love a transport correspondent who cycles everywhere.
It's the only reliable form of
exactly,
transport
that's
at
the point, isn't it?
I don't think he cycled to Saltburn, to be fair.
Well, he might have done, I think, Simon. He's very, very fit as well.
Right, now, Russia, if you were fed up enough, Russia could turn the lights off and won't think twice about exploiting defence gaps in the UK.
That's the warning the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, Pat McFadden, is expected to tell NATO members next week.
In a speech, he'll urge countries to bolster cybersecurity and not underestimate the threat of cyber warfare from Russia.
It follows warnings from experts last night who urged Britain to remain firm and stand strong against Vladimir Putin's threats.
Let's head to Westminster and our political correspondent, Olivia Utley. Morning to you, Olivia. Is this an indication that we are facing a much more serious threat from Moscow than perhaps was previously thought?
Well, it does sound like it. I mean, off the back of last week where we heard that Putin might be prepared to use military tactics in the UK as a direct response to the Ukraine firing British-made missiles at Russia, we are now hearing that Russia is imminently prepared to launch a sophisticated cyber attack on the UK. Now, that might not sound as alarming immediately as a sort of full-scale physical attack, but actually it can cause just as much disruption both to the economy and to the day-to-day lives of ordinary people. Just a few months ago, a Russian gang launched a cyber attack on a couple of NHS hospitals, and as a result, 800 planned appointments had to be postponed, 700 more outpatient appointments had to be postponed, including all sorts of cancer treatments. That was just a Russian gang acting independently from the government. If the government was involved, there is a very real risk that you could see, you know, the lights going out across Britain. Pat McFadden, the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, says that British businesses are prepared, that he can help them to prepare, and that he thinks that he can stop the threat of the lights actually going out. But it could be that there is a real effect on businesses if Russia really launch this attack. And it just shows us how vulnerable Britain is in this sort of globalised world where our supply chains are just outsourced in so many different places. We are very, very vulnerable to attacks of this kind from Putin's Russia. It's a pretty scary warning from Pat McFadden that we're going to hear at NATO on Monday, not just for us, but also, of course, for all the other NATO countries.
Firm and sort of like we'll help you sort of like, you know, sort of get organised so you aren't vulnerable. But to stop being vulnerable against a cyber attack takes more than a couple of days. I mean, you know, the NHS, as we heard earlier on, depends on a system that's pretty antiquated and is linked to so many hospitals and doctors' surgeries around the country. One goes down, all of them go down.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the government says that, you know, behind the scenes there have been efforts to bolster systems like the NHS system and other systems which you know, everyday life depend on. But as you say, Dawn, I mean, lots of these systems are antiquated and it is obviously very difficult. You can't just bring the NHS system down for a couple of weeks while you update it. All of these systems have to be kept running at all times, which makes it very, very difficult to sort of bring them up to date, to make sure that we are in control of the sort of cyber supply chain, as it were. And that does leave us really open and vulnerable to attack. And we've seen it before. As I say, there were these attacks on NHS hospitals just a few months ago from a Russian gang. And, you know, 100 cancer patients had their treatments postponed, cancelled in some cases of chemotherapy. So it, you know, it can and does happen. Pat McFadden is telling businesses that they must be prepared. I mean, perhaps that's a helpful heads up, but as you say, it'll probably take a while. And if his claim that the threat is really imminent is true, that's going to be pretty worrying.
Just before we let you go, Olivia, what are we to make of this petition for a general election? The government says it will respond, but it's not necessarily going to be debated, but it is going up by the thousands every couple of minutes. There's clearly a lot of anger out there.
There is a lot of anger out there. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary, really, when you compare this general election result to, for example, the general election result of 1997. In terms of the number of seats that Labour won, it's very comparable. In fact, Tony Blair only won 4 more seats in 97 than Keir Starmer won in 2024. But the atmosphere 6 months on is just so different. Tony Blair was safe for 3 terms in office, but now the Labour Party is deeply unpopular. Since they won that general election, they have lost 80% of the council by-elections that they fought. That is a record. I mean, that is pretty extraordinary. Yeah. And now we have this petition. I mean, these petitions do the rounds every now and then. It won't, you know, it's not going to come to anything. The government isn't going to grant another general election just 6 months on. But it does show the scale of the anger and frustration towards this Labour government, and it'll come as a real blow to Starmer and Rachel Reeves too.
OK, Olivia, good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. OK, I just want to read this message out. A message from Chris. Don't be dismissive of the petition calling for a general election. At least there is a section that allows you to explain to your local MP why you have signed.
Oh, well.
So that's important there. Thanks, Chris, for that.
That is important.
Yeah.
OK. But say currently, 294,848. I mean, it's gone up. What's that make?
Every time you look at it, I mean, it's
gone up 40,000
yeah.
since we first mentioned it just over an hour and 20 minutes ago.
And it's, you can let your MP know why you've signed it. So that actually is a very important point.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Right, it's 18 minutes past 8. Let's have a look at some of the other stories heading into the newsroom this morning.
Delegates at COP29 in Azerbaijan have agreed a new climate finance target. They pledged $300 billion, up from $100 billion a year ago, to help poorer countries deal with the impacts of climate change. With rich countries leading for the payments, it was feared the conference would collapse after some of the poorer nations walked out of the talks.
A number of unidentified drones have been spotted over 3 air bases in Britain. Now, that's according to the United States Air Force. It happened between the 20th and 22nd of November, so just a couple of days ago, and saw these systems over RAF Lakenheath, RAF Mildenhall and RAF Feltwell.
Scary. And 2 tennis rivals have united. Novak Djokovic has appointed his former rival Andy Murray to be his new tennis coach. Murray is set to join Djokovic's team in the off-season, helping him prepare for the Australian Open. Aidan McGee will have the latest on that story.
Right then, let's see what's happening with what's left of Storm Bert, and how it's going to affect you.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. We still have Storm Bert dominating our weather through today, bringing strong winds, further spells of heavy rainfall, but also some mild air too. So we have a band of rain across the southwestern parts of England. That's moving its way slowly eastwards across the Midlands and gradually into East Anglia. Towards the north of that, though, a much drier picture compared to Saturday, but blustery showers already moving through across parts of Northern Ireland and western part of Scotland. Here temperatures around 10 or 11 degrees, but across the south a very mild picture out there, highs of 15 to 16 degrees. There are warnings in force, rain and wind warnings. We could see gusts up to 70 miles per hour across western parts of Scotland through this evening, with heavy spells of showers and rain. That continuing across Northern Ireland as well, with blustery showers feeding through, gusts here up to 65 miles per hour. Across parts of central England, we still have this band of heavy rain that will gradually start moving its way eastwards through the night, moving into East Anglia and southeastern England. Behind that, turning drier with some clear spells, but some frequent showers. These most frequent across Northern Ireland and into Scotland as well, where we still hold on to some very strong winds as we start Monday morning. But it won't be as mild as we go through Monday morning, lows dipping around 7 or 8 degrees. But it will be a damp start, especially across eastern parts of England, but rain will gradually clear its way through, turning much drier and brighter behind it across the bulk of England. But further towards the west, here we'll see frequent showers moving through, some of these quite heavy, but the main focus will be the strong winds and frequent showers across the north, where they could turn wintry, with temperatures dropping closer to average. Bye-bye for now.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We have actually finally got something to cheer you up, though. It's our biggest and greatest Great British giveaway, and your chance to win £50,000 in tax-free cash. The biggest one ever.
It is the biggest prize we have ever given away. It could all be yours, every single penny. Here's how you enter.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British...
Yeah, best of luck to you. We're just looking at... You can see where people have voted on this petition website. It's fairly well scattered. The sort of strongest density, if you like, seems to be in the northeast.
Yes.
But it's pretty solid across the UK.
Yeah.
Quite a few in Wales. Scotland is perhaps less affected by all of this, but it's...
Oh my God!
It's hit 300,000. Now it's gone up 50,000 in an hour and a half.
And I've just been told it's enshrined in the Bill of Rights from 1688 that every citizen has the right to petition the King to do something about the government, and that's what gives you the right to sign this. And hopefully they might take some notice, but it's very interesting what Chris said earlier on. There's actually a section on there where you can notify your local MP the reason you have signed this and make your complaints actually a lot more personal. So they might even take some notice.
You never know. Right, it's 8:24. Stay with us here on GB News Breakfast. Lots coming up in just a moment, including why are so many people getting these fat jabs at the moment? Should it be allowed?
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
In 2020, after almost 80 years, Oxford University's Pitt Rivers Museum removed its famous collection of shrunken heads with sewn-up lips and eyes made by the South American Shuar and Ashwar people. How do museums decide what should be shown and what should be confined to storage? Can controversial exhibits be left on display with suitable contextualisation in captions? Who would want to be a curator facing such controversial questions? For review, I'm delighted to be joined by journalist Eitan Smallman. Welcome to GB News. I think many people, when they hear that we're going to discuss museums or art galleries, think that it's going to be, oh, that wokery question. But it strikes me, and I think it strikes you too, that this is not just about wokery at all. There are some really interesting ethical questions here. For example, I mean, let's start with this one, and there are several examples of it. Should we be displaying human bodies, the remains of human beings? Should we be displaying them in museums?
Absolutely. It's not just the usual suspects, young snowflakes, who are objecting to these things. They're just naturally cultural shifts, and people of all ages and all political persuasions may feel uneasy about displaying human remains of any kind, especially human remains that have been taken against the will of the communities or taken violently. Hilary Mantel led a campaign to remove a 7-foot 7-inch skeleton of Charles Byrne, known as the Irish Giant, from the Hunterian Museum. He had specifically said that he didn't want to be displayed and didn't want to be taken by anatomists, and yet was displayed for a couple of hundred years until a couple of years ago. He hasn't had the burial he requested, but he's no longer on public display.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's 8:27. Now, the number of people being admitted to hospital after suffering a reaction linked to weight loss jabs is apparently 4 times higher than initially thought.
The increase is thought to have been driven by the sale of weight loss jabs online, leading to calls for stronger regulations.
So we're asking this morning, should we stop them from being sold online and leave it to GPs?
To debate this, we're now joined by former presenter of Fat Families, Steve Miller, and Ozempic user and creator of Ozempic Insights, Belinda Hogan. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. I'm going to come to you first, Belinda. Is it OK that you can just go online without any medical support and order a drug that does, as we know, have sometimes quite severe side effects?
I think that there needs to be better restrictions around it. I think that it needs to be looked at much more. I think it's too widely available. So, yeah.
OK, Steve, what do you make of it all? Is this some people are thinking this is a magic bullet for them and might get them on the right path. Should they be stuck to having to go to a GP?
Listen, people are desperate to lose weight, and I get that. It is a constant challenge. But I wouldn't just ban this jab online. I would ban it offline. And let me tell you why. I thought about this morning. The first thing is we are now receiving reports of a linkage between the jab and fatality, deaths. That's what I'm talking about. Secondly, we know that, as you mentioned, there are potential side effects, including vomiting. Of course, we know about that one. It affects a lot of people. Secondly, we've got gallbladder potential issues. Now, over the last few days, a friend of mine contacted me to say her auntie has been using a jab, and now she's in hospital, and she might have to have a gallbladder removed. And then thirdly, we've got pancreatitis as well. The other thing to say with these jabs, the manufacturers, when they were doing the tests for these jabs, they tested it on rodents, and tumours occurred in some of the rodents. These cancerous tumours, and thyroid cancer is a potential risk. The manufacturers will not confirm. They will not say, oh, don't worry, it's all okay, you're not going to get thyroid cancer using this jab. They refuse to actually confirm that. And the other thing is, recently we've had a study that says that these jabs can potentially create serious eye conditions as well. Now, the other thing to remember
not proven.
Okay. I'm just outlining the scientific study. Now, the other thing to say is, when you stop using this jab, do you honestly think you're going to be slim forever? No, you're not. And the weight comes back for most people. The other thing, of course, is that we have the potential of eating disorders, people being completely messed up, taking these jabs. You know, the message goes into the brain, oh, you're not that hungry. Then all the complications can happen. And then people get all messed up. Then when they can't afford the jab, it's kind of, oh my goodness, what do I do now?
Yeah.
So my view, I know it's probably a bit extreme, but I just ban the lot.
Well, I mean, Belinda, it raises some proper concerns there, because people are, if you can just buy it online, people are taking it without thinking of the consequences, aren't they?
Well, this is the point, though, isn't it? That we should be monitored while we are on this medication. It should only be under your doctor's orders. This drug has changed the lives of millions of people, and myself included. I don't think that I would be where I am today, mentally and physically and emotionally, only for this drug. You know, I've been on it over 2 years now. I have lost 77 pounds. My goal is 100 pounds. I will get there. My whole life has changed. So many medical issues have disappeared because of it as well. And I also, you know, there are risks with every single medication in the world.
I hear that all the time. I hear that all the time.
Of course, because it's true.
I am fed up to the back teeth of hearing this argument where people say, oh, there's side effects with all medications. Listen, we know the reports are coming through loud and clear that for some people, not all, I accept that, but for some people, this can have a serious potential effect on their life. We've also had confirmation that it has been linked to a death. So in my view, this jab should be renamed the gamble jab, because you do not know how it's going to affect you. Yes, weight loss is a challenge. I get that. But we've got to look at more natural ways of helping people to manage their weight. And look at countries like Japan,
that's what
who
this
manage their
drug
weight
is
well.
enabling people to do, Steve. Now, I'm not going to cut over you again if you don't cut over me, okay? I wasn't finished speaking. Now, that's
I will
what this
cut over
drug
you.
is.
If I think you're wrong, I will cut over you. But anyway, carry on with respect.
Are you sure? That's okay?
I am sure.
So that is true, that this drug is linked to terrible things. That's fine. But you're saying, Steve, that we have to find other ways, we have to do better. This drug enables people to do that. It enables people to look at their food. It enables people to have the peace of mind and the quietness, because I'm going to tell you, because it switches off food noise in your brain. And when that food noise is switched off, you are able for the first time in your life to be at ease in thinking about your food and your intake, and not just to be consumed by it every single day. And when that happens, that in itself enables you to go ahead, join Pilates, join swimming, go walking, get out, improve your mental health.
Without having to have a jab.
But some people
Pilates,
don't.
Go swimming without having to have a jab. So
come on.
Hang on.
I'm talking about people that are chronically obese.
Are you saying that people should gamble their life on this jab?
I think everyone should give it a go. If you are obese and living with the disease of obesity, if you are living with the if you are living...
Go on, Belinda.
If you are living with the disease of obesity, your life is horrendous, and nobody, unless you have been there, will actually understand the implications of it and the implications of the health risks with living with the disease of obesity.
OK, but isn't that an argument, Steve, to say, look, under some circumstances, it can be good if it's switching off that food driver in the brain and things, and for some people who are, not a bit overweight, but have got a real medical problem here, then actually that might be the way forward.
Well, we're miles away from that, Stephen,
what I'll say as well...
We're miles away from that, Stephen, at the moment, with the amount of people using it and the amount of people that are reporting how poorly they're becoming. You mentioned earlier, before we had the debate, about people going to A&E because of this jab. We've had reports in the national press of deaths linked to the jab. That's the headline. That's the reality. And I'm sorry, we cannot get away from that. And no, are you saying it's not true?
That's
saying
the
that-
headline. There
you
are
actually-
underlying conditions to
No,
everything.
Are you saying that the linkage that the experts are saying for those people where they lost their
Those
life, the
people,
linkage is
exactly.
false? Are you saying it's false?
What's false?
That it didn't have a linkage.
Am I saying that what's false? That
All right,
there's
look,
there's no
is there-
there's
is
no
there-
link at all.
what- are you
Of course
saying there was
there's
no
links. Of
linkage?
course there's links.
Oh, so you're now saying there is?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, there is links. I absolutely categorically didn't say there wasn't.
All right. Well, look, there's some areas that you agree on in all of this, believe it or not. But Belinda, then how do we stop what is almost an epidemic of people using it? And we know there are people buying this drug.
Yeah, of course they are. Yeah,
who are not clinically obese. Far from it.
Yeah, and that's not good. You know, and I know Steve has the same opinion as well. That is not good. This drug needs to be regulated more. Absolutely. I spent the latter 18 months of my journey with a health coach, with a dietitian, and with an endocrinologist. And that really is how this drug should be prescribed, and that's the way you should be living with it, trying to live with it.
So you both agree that it should be prescribed by a doctor and not available online at the very least, Steve.
I don't agree.
I know you think it should be banned entirely. Belinda, just one final question for you. Are you confident, Belinda, that when you do come off this drug, because no one advises you should stay on it for the rest of your life, that the switch on your brain that switches off the hunger won't be switched back on again? Are you confident that you've learned what made you obese in the first place and how to address those issues?
Yes, to one part of that. I am extremely aware for the reasons my obesity got so far. And unfortunately for me and millions of others, that switch that was switched off in our brain immediately when we stop taking that drug will be switched back on again. Now, we can, in this moment and in this phase and period, we can try to relearn and reteach ourselves, but unfortunately, that's not always going to work either. Myself personally, I'm not, and I have no intentions of coming off this drug. I don't. The positives far outweigh the negative for me.
Sorry, Belinda, I thought the NHS guidance was you can have it for 2 years.
I have no idea about the NHS.
Okay, I think you should check that one out. I mean, it's up to you whether you take it forever, but I mean, I respect that. But there are other ways. There are other ways.
No. Can I just ask one question then, Steve?
On that point, we are really out of time, but it has been fascinating. Steve Miller, Belinda Hogan, thank you both very much indeed. Heck.
Wow.
Well, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Sport with Aidan in just a minute.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
The Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. Hope you're having a lovely weekend out there. We are now going to talk sport with the wonderful Aidan McGee, who's just sniggering in the corner like a naughty boy. But I can't tell you what about. So, Aidan, let's talk sport, shall we?
Yeah, why not? Big announcement yesterday. Andy Murray retired from tennis back in August. And we all thought he was going to walk off into the sunset, maybe do I'm a Celeb or something else. But well, it wasn't his own announcement. It was Novak Djokovic who announced yesterday that he's going to be his new coach. This is surprising because Djokovic was always a nemesis to Andy Murray. 4 defeats in Grand Slam finals in Australia and in the French as well. Murray did chalk up some notable wins against Djokovic as well. But if you look at Djokovic's history, look, he's going for a 25th Grand Slam. He already holds the record at 24, 2 ahead of Nadal, 4 ahead of Federer. He believes strongly now, with the field having opened up just slightly, that he can make it number 25. He does have a history of big-name coaches in his corner: Goran Ivanisevic, Boris Becker, Andre Agassi. He likes that big-game mentality to help him over the line at key points. And sooner or later, his body, for all his fitness and all his exceptional prowess physically, it's going to start giving up. He's going to need other ways of gaining an advantage on the court. And despite what anyone says, the pool of competition will get stronger as well. Alcaraz, of course, is coming good. Medvedev is still in there, Zverev, etc. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they get on. I think it's just initially for the Australian Open in January. But I think, who knows, if it's successful, it may go on further than that. But
I'm just convinced it could be a personality
It spares us seeing Murray in the jungle as well, doesn't it?
Got to work.
Yes.
Come on, Blumenek. Yeah. I think he'd cause waves, would he? Can we have a look at Max Verstappen?
Yeah, a 4th successive F1 title. Now, it's been processional. It's been a bit dull, which is probably why we don't mention it much on this show, because we like more interesting stuff. But you still have to doff your cap to that level of consistency, that level of excellence in that car. He's outperformed the car to some degree in recent races. He finished 5th today in Las Vegas. What a way to win to a 4th title, by the way. What a place to do it as well in Vegas. He finished 5th, but he got the requisite number of points to get over the line. George Russell finished 1st, Lewis Hamilton in 2nd, so it's a British 1-2. So outstanding from those two as well. Next season, we'll see how interesting it gets. Lewis Hamilton moving to Ferrari. Will that pose a different threat to Max Verstappen? But we'll have to see. But as I say, when that change of the guard happened in 2021, we weren't sure whether we would see it last over the long term, and it certainly has so far, and I wouldn't back against him winning a 5th next year either.
No, wow, phenomenal.
I just want to talk quickly football. Man City, are they doomed?
Well, they are at the moment, yeah. 5 successive defeats, rather like the England rugby team, actually. But, yeah, five successive defeats. The biggest home defeat since 2003. So 21 years ago. That was at the old stadium, Main Road. Did you ever go to Main Road, Dawn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My father-in-law lived literally in the street next to it.
Right, well, look, that's how long ago we're talking. Arsenal won their 5-1. They've got injuries, but that squad should be able to coach. It should have been a great week of celebration with Rodri winning the Ballon d'Or, Stephen, and Pep Guardiola signed that new contract without a break clause as well. He said he was going to be there he's going to be there even if they get relegated. They might be at this rate. They might get relegated without the 115 charges.
All right, Aidan, we've got to leave it there. Good to see you. All right, we've got the papers heading your way in just a moment with Susan and Andy.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The BBC has been branded jaw-achingly stupid, not by me, by the way, over its decision to cast black and ethnic minority actors in the historical drama of Wolf Hall. Now, is this a forward-thinking idea or nonsense? Are we rewriting history? Henry, I mean, the Tudors were real-life people. They were pretty much white.
Well, some of these shows depart so much from historical context anyway that maybe it doesn't make any difference. But I think just generally, we've got a problem in this country with portraying history in its correct sense. You can't change history. And I think it's about the motivation. If the motivation is to sort of, to some sort of, you know, to make a political point, then I think it's wrong.
What I find kind of tedious about people finding this instant jaw-droppingly stupid, Jesus was portrayed by somebody who's half Slovak and half Irish. Moses was portrayed in the Exodus by an Englishman. So, you know, same with Anne Boleyn, you know, was portrayed by Natalie Portman, who is Jewish. So if this is the one thing that's getting people angry, then there's something deeper within that rage, because I think Hollywood's been doing that, where people...
When you say something deeper, do you think there is a hidden racism and people are complaining about this?
Well, I think for some, maybe yes. I can't speak for everybody because you know, this news dropped today. I don't know why they are thinking that it's egregious, but there absolutely must be some underlying racism if this is the only one that you're upset about.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Nightmare commute. Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+ and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player app. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, time for the papers at 8:48 with Susan Holder and Andy Jones. Good morning to you,
Morning.
Andy. I've been trying to work out what to buy my loved ones for Christmas, and so far the only sort of things that come up is a Noddy Holder doll.
Oh, you could buy a raffle ticket.
Oh, yes, I know.
For a Noddy Holder sculpture that's running at the moment for charity. £10.
You may have mentioned that on Instagram.
I may have done. Follow me on Instagram, you'll find out.
How do we get better answers to our present questions?
Apparently, the very latest thing to do is to ask ChatGPT or ask AI, and it can excavate not only all of the different information from your loved one's social media profiles, see what they're talking about, what they're up to, but it can also find gift suggestions for somebody of that age, range, gender, and economic group.
Hold on a minute. So it goes into your loved one's social media
it can
and finds out.
It can suggest things, but some of the more sophisticated personal shopper AI things can say, "Oh, Dawn Neeson, this is what Dawn Neeson said she likes in the last few years." But then again, you can get all sorts of bizarre...
You'd have to have a public profile for that, though. It couldn't just kind of... Because I did use it just to see what happened. I just put in what should I buy my mum. Now, I have many ideas of my own, but I just thought I'd... And do you know what? The suggestions weren't that bad. I don't think she wants heated slippers, but family photos or, you know, a digital photo album with photos on. Theatre tickets is suggested, which is always a good idea.
So that's just going on the fact that she's female, the generation...
Of an age, I get, yeah. But actually, if you're struggling, why not prompt yourself? Because it could send you... I didn't think it was that some of the suggestions weren't that bad. What have you...
I've asked it what I should buy myself.
Go on.
It says...
Is that how you Christmas shop?
Books on journalism or current affairs. A high-quality desk accessory.
Oh.
That's not
What's
bad.
a desk accessory?
Well, like a luxury pen, e.g. Mont Blanc.
Oh, I've got one of those.
Oh, nice.
I couldn't afford one of those. Tickets to a sporting event.
A vape.
No, number 6, tech gadgets.
Tech gadgets. That would be the first one. That should
As
be
a
the first.
broadcaster, Stephen may
though, isn't it?
appreciate
Just tech
gifts.
gadget.
Well, no, but it's better than nothing. It's not bad.
It's not. That's what I thought. If you're really lacking inspiration, it could just prompt an idea.
Could you just actually a bit like the debate we were just having about Ozempic and fat jabs, and it's like personal responsibility, just putting a bit of personal effort into it, just thinking.
Yeah, but sometimes you just need a bit of a clue.
That's all ChatGPT I think is good for. It's good for a prompt, and then it said, and actually some of the prompts it was giving were things you could then adapt for personal kind of taste. So it said theatre tickets, but then you'd have to think of what theatre tickets that person would appreciate,
ballpark,
or ballpark things. So actually, then you personalise it, which is always the best way to give a gift.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was bad.
But these are all going to be co-opted by big advertising companies soon, and it's going to be paid to tell you different things as per whoever's paying the
If
ad.
anyone's wanting to send me anything, custom stationery, a monogrammed leather briefcase or tailored gift for my workspace could add a personal touch while reflecting his professional style.
Sorry.
Oi, pay attention.
Oh, come on.
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not far off, I have to
I was
say.
going to get you a toy Kermit to celebrate both you and Kermit have got honorary doctorates.
Don't knock honorary doctorates, otherwise...
Well, Kermit obviously didn't.
No.
If you missed that earlier, you can get it on the website. It's online.
She can. Now, should we talk a bit of jungle? You like a bit of jungle, don't you?
I like a bit of the jungle. I think this series is actually rather good. I have been watching it. The episode a couple of days ago was absolutely brilliant because there was lots of kind of fuss in the media about Colleen Rooney going in. I think she's turning out to be a rather good campmate. Wagatha Christie, as she is known, because of the trap she laid for somebody when she knew that someone was selling stories to her, and it was Rebecca Vardy's account. She's been Wagatha Christie in the jungle. She's actually solving some of the problems that the producers are throwing up to kind of trick them, and she's ahead of them all the time. She's very smart. I also think she's coming across as really nice and as an amazing mum. She's clearly only gone in here now because her children, she's got 4 kids between 6 and 15, and I think she's been asked to do this many times before, hasn't done it because her youngest is only now 6. And I think at 6, they understand where she is and can watch her on the TV. When they were younger, she wouldn't have left them. And the story in the paper today is that 2 of the youngest children are out in Australia, obviously, with, I think, her mother, and they're going to take them in to do the bit in the jungle where they meet up with friends and family. Her children are going to go in. I think Colleen's acquitting herself very well. Unlike, it has to be said, Rebecca Vardy, who's taken the book to write for The Sun and is just carrying on the school bully kind of... It's rather sad, isn't it, to be honest?
Are you a fan, Andy?
I haven't watched any of it, so I will pass the ball back over.
What do you make of this? From what I see in the headlines,
Yeah.
because I haven't watched any of it either. What do you make of this Radio 1 DJ?
Yes,
Dean?
well, Dean. I didn't know who he was particularly. I'm not a very big
He's
radio...
getting a lot of stick.
I don't Radio
he's
1 DJ has the pull it used to have.
No, it doesn't. Well, he's getting a lot of attention because he knows, obviously, that if you squeal and scream and don't do all the trials, and he said, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here twice in the trials, which means he then forfeits the trials.
It's interesting that
people will keep voting for you. And I think, I mean, he's quite entertaining, but I think he knows what he's doing.
The other youngster in there, the girl, I've got no idea who she is, the influencer or whatever she is, she's playing that game as well. They're getting all the
G.K.
airtime.
Barry. Again, she's quite funny. It's a good... Barry McGuigan's coming over very well. Danny from McFly's coming over very well. It's quite a good mix. I always find the trials, for me, are the kind of least important bits. I like the sociological kind of interaction.
Hey, now, just very quickly, because we're running out of time, if I were to buy you for Christmas, ChatGTP says limited edition music items related to Noddy or Slade.
I've got some of them
already.
There you go. Anyway, right, we've got to go. Good to see you. Here's the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. We still have Storm Bert dominating our weather through today, bringing strong winds, further spells of heavy rainfall, but also some mild air too. So we have a band of rain across the southwestern parts of England. That's moving its way slowly eastwards across the Midlands and gradually into East Anglia. Towards the north of that, though, a much drier picture compared to Saturday, but blustery showers already moving through across parts of Northern Ireland and western part of Scotland. Here temperatures around 10 or 11 degrees, but across the south a very mild picture out there, highs of 15 to 16 degrees. There are warnings in force, rain and wind warnings. We could see gusts up to 70 miles per hour across western parts of Scotland through this evening, with heavy spells of showers and rain. That continuing across Northern Ireland as well, with blustery showers feeding through, gusts here up to 65 miles per hour. Across parts of central England, we still have this band of heavy rain that will gradually start moving its way eastwards through the night, moving into East Anglia and southeastern England. Behind that, turning drier with some clear spells, but some frequent showers. These most frequent across Northern Ireland and into Scotland as well, where we still hold on to some very strong winds as we start Monday morning. But it won't be as mild as we go through Monday morning, lows dipping around 7 or 8 degrees. But it will be a damp start, especially across eastern parts of England, but rain will gradually clear its way through, turning much drier and brighter behind it across the bulk of England. But further towards the west, here we'll see frequent showers moving through, some of these quite heavy, but the main focus will be the strong winds and frequent showers across the north, where they could turn wintry, with temperatures dropping closer to average. Bye-bye for now.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting a call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my...
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
What about train Wi-Fi? The Times. It's so funny the Times did this story, because I was on the train yesterday trying to do some work and connecting to the Wi-Fi, and it happens all the time. It just doesn't work. It's pathetic. And then I opened the Times and they've done a massive investigation. Loads of different rail routes from north to south.
Was that the James Bond thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, well, that passenger got through, or almost got through, one episode one James Bond movie in 8 hours.
But you know, it's interesting. We call it train Wi-Fi, but it isn't. It's just really a SIM card on a train, really. So if your own phone's not going to get signal, why would we assume that the train's going to have signal? It just doesn't work like that. Unless you're in Japan or South Korea, whose infrastructure is infinitely better than ours, you're just not going to get signal. You have to download those films way before you get on
There
this.
is technology that can help with that. You know, there really is. If they found ways to put it underground, they can get it on ground and get you going. I definitely think, you know, with the price that we're paying for these tickets, they can get the Wi-Fi going. There is technology.
That's why it's so frustrating, isn't
Call
it?
Elon, get a Starlink, let's go.
If you're a passenger paying hundreds of pounds for a season ticket or whatever you call it, and, you know, commute to work every single day, and you're paying all this money, and you can't.
It's so expensive. You'd expect Wi-Fi at the basic. Yeah, exactly.
But it happens with phone signal as well. I'll be walking down London in Park Lane or somewhere else, or down on the south coast. I just don't have phone signal, and I think to myself, what on earth is going on?
Doesn't it feel like 5G's made it worse, though?
Yeah.
Because I feel like 4G, that didn't happen so much, but 5G just feels like...
Yeah, and then I always get this little E in the top corner of my phone, and I don't get any signal. I think it's got worse over the past couple of years. Yeah, especially with 5G. I agree with that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning to you. Storm Bert has battered Britain, leaving 3 people dead and thousands without power.
But the worst is evidently yet to come, as heavy rain and thawing snow could bring flooding to parts of the UK.
While there are yellow warnings for rain and wind still remaining across much of the UK, we'll keep you up to date.
We still have Storm Bert dominating our weather, bringing some heavy spells of rain and also some very strong winds. I'll have all the details coming up shortly.
And Putin ready to cripple the UK. That's according to Pat McFadden, warning the Russian president could launch a wave of cyber attacks.
Is the Queen a wicked stepmother? Well, from one of the most disliked women in the UK to now a national treasure, there's a Channel 4 programme tonight set to explore the rise of Queen Camilla, and it's got a controversial title.
Spoiler alert,
Yeah.
wicked stepmother.
I know.
I wonder what they think of her.
Yeah, I don't
To
think
be
it's
fair,
fair.
that's what Harry called her, though, wasn't it?
Well, there we go. It's just got 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is a GB News Breakfast. Good morning to you. However, I am probably going to watch that at some point.
Are you?
Yeah,
No, I'm not.
I probably will. I mean, I was, as I say several times, I was lucky enough to interview Diana a couple of times and covered that whole, you know, three of us in the marriage saga and the very sad breakup of Charles and Diana's marriage and the aftermath of that, which we all know was horrible. And yeah, I can't. Yeah, Camilla was absolutely loathed back in the day.
She was, but it's so unfair. The whole thing is so unfair. She wasn't allowed to marry the prince, was she, back in the day? And so she was pushed out for Diana. And it's not Diana's fault. It's not Diana's fault.
No.
But at the end of the day, the system let them all down. It was just an arranged marriage that didn't work out.
And, you know, as much as, you know, we all love the Queen and sort of still miss her, the late Queen. But however, if she'd have just let her eldest son gone with his heart and married the woman he quite clearly loved from day one, and she adored him from day one.
Yeah, we wouldn't be in this mess. But then we wouldn't have Prince William, would we?
No, that's true. Yeah.
So I mean, it's the way life turns out. But I think it's very unfair that Camilla was characterised the way she was.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see a programme where they try and put a negative spin on it.
We don't know. I mean, there is a question mark after the title. To be fair, they might come to a different conclusion. However, I'm suspecting that won't be the case. But I think Camilla is strong enough to shrug it off and probably, you know, go down the pub, have a pint and have a ciggy. It's Charles, I think, King Charles, that will be upset by this.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah, and, you know, it's not having an easy year of it.
No.
Regardless of whether, you know, what you think of the royals.
Well, we need to carry on. Just ignore the noise. That's what I say. What we might not be able to ignore is the threat from Russia, actually. We're being told they could turn our lights off and won't think twice about exploiting defence gaps in the UK.
Gaps that are getting bigger, by the way. That's the warning the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, Pat McFadden, is expected to tell NATO members next week.
In a speech, he'll urge countries to bolster cybersecurity and not underestimate the threat of cyber warfare from Russia.
It follows warnings from experts last night who urged Britain to remain firm and stand strong against Vladimir Putin's threats.
Camilla Tominey has got her show at 9:30 this morning. She joins us now. I mean, this is going to be an interesting discussion, Camilla, around all of this, because up until this point, I mean, we've known about cyber threats. Obviously, they're ongoing. But are they taking more precedence for the government rather than actual military threats?
Well, I think it's interesting now, this discussion of kind of 21st century warfare. Obviously, there's been a huge amount of coverage of the response from Russia to the use of Storm missiles in Ukraine and the access that Putin has to hypersonic missiles that can travel at great speeds and distances, which, of course, is a concern. There's even some reports this morning in the newspapers about whether we might need our own Iron Dome to protect ourselves. Tobias Ellwood, the former defence minister, has warned that we aren't adequately protected, that we don't have enough resources and troops on the ground. We've got the smallest army now since the Napoleonic Wars. So there's that concern. And then there's this concern about cyber interference. Look, we know the Russians have got form on hacking. There's a great deal of concern about our undersea cables, the cables that connect us to the rest of the world and upon which all of our infrastructure relies. We know that one of those cables towards Finland was severed in recent weeks, so that's of a concern. And I think Pat McFadden really here is addressing what people in the security services believe is the biggest threat from Russia. I've got the best person on the show today to discuss it, because I'm going to be speaking to Sir Richard Dearlove, the former head of MI6, about this. And also, as you'd imagine, guys, we're going to be discussing this extraordinary arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defence minister by the ICC.
Yeah, which is remarkable, isn't it? The fact that it would seem to be that the government is saying on that, well, we can't. It's an independent body. We can't interfere. Well, the Conservatives said they'd interfere with it, and in fact, several other countries have said they'll interfere with it as well.
Well, I'll be asking for Richard Dearlove's response to Joe Biden saying that anybody, including the UK, that did cooperate with this ludicrous arrest warrant should be crushed. But also, I think what's going to be interesting is I'm going to be interviewing Jonathan Ashworth. Now, he's the former Shadow Health Secretary. He lost his seat at the general election, but he now heads up Labour Together. So he's here speaking on behalf of government, really, in a kind of proxy manner. Why is Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, being ambivalent about this? Israel isn't party to the ICC, it's not a signatory. We've got a lot of commentators pointing out that the facts of the matter in this arrest warrant are wrong. And also you have to ask yourself, why is the UK government complying with this when people like the Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad isn't even subject to an arrest warrant? Are we now supporting this idea of equivalence between the leader of a diplomatic and democratic country and the head of Hamas?
Yes, indeed. A lot more politics. And Hungary, meanwhile, have actually invited him to visit the country as well, haven't they?
Well, yeah, exactly, in a kind of two-fingered salute to, by the way, the ICC, and this arrest warrant is being officiated by a man who's currently being investigated for sexual offences. So it doesn't really make much sense, any of it. I also just wanted to let you know, guys, that we've got a very special guest on the show as well. I'm going to be speaking to Elon Musk's dad, Errol.
Yes, very good. He's a nice fella. He's a lovely man.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I want to find out what he makes of a report in today's papers suggesting that Trump might facilitate Elon Musk's mission to Mars.
Oh.
Interesting stuff.
That could be very interesting. All right, Camilla, thank you. We'll see you at 9:30.
Thank you.
We had Elon Musk on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he was fantastic, actually.
Yeah, he's a good talker.
Yeah, he's a really great talker.
Yeah, interesting.
It's just fascinating, isn't it, to see someone, you know, it's Elon's father, is just, when he's now the world's richest man. It's extraordinary.
I know. It's a very strange family. It has to be said, though. But tune in. Camilla's on at 9:30, straight after this.
Talking of politics.
Yes.
Got to mention this petition again.
You are obsessed.
Well, I am obsessed with it because people were getting in touch this morning saying, "Have you seen the petition calling for a general election?" Now, it's not going to cause a general election. That's not how it works. There's no way the Labour government will turn around and say, well, enough of you have complained, so we're going to have the election again. It isn't going to happen. But what it does do is send a very interesting message to the government that so many people, just so few months into this administration, are so unhappy. Now, currently, it's at 345,095. And it's just, but it's the fact it's gone up 100,000 since we first mentioned it an hour and a half ago.
Yeah,
it is rattling up at a speed which has got to cause concern for Number 10, because if this keeps going all day like this, you'll be in the millions by tea time.
Yeah, no, you will be, and it's interesting because there's a map on there you can click to as well to see where most of the signatures are coming from, and it's pretty much across the country.
Yeah.
It is quite astonishing. And there is also a section on there where you can notify your own local MP about why you've signed it and what your concerns are. So rather than just being an anonymous name on there, you can actually, whether they're taking any notice is another matter, but it's got to be worth a try, isn't it, if you're angry? And many of you are. You know, gbnews.com/Your Say has been flooded today with people, certainly older people, that are worried about how they are going to get through this winter.
Yeah, and if you're short of something to do today, just load up the government petition website, parliament.uk, and just watch the numbers, because seeing these, it's absolutely incredible just to see how these numbers, when it updates every 10 seconds or so, and it's going up by hundreds at a time.
And Dr. Stephen Dixon has been transfixed by that, by the way. 2 doctorates.
Yes, all right.
He's got 2, yeah. Kermit the Frog's got 1, though. Just saying.
All right, you haven't got any.
No, I know. I wouldn't have one either.
Have you got a degree?
No. You have to ask.
I'm not surprised by the answer. No, actually, we're reaching a point, I think, in society where people should be we should be heading more towards apprenticeships and all that sort of thing.
Kind of what I did. I started off making tea.
Did you?
And yeah, pretty much what I'm still doing now.
Never
to be
made
honest
me a
with you.
cup.
Was that one all right, love?
She didn't make it. Right, let's talk about the serious weather conditions this morning, because Storm Bert has already battered Britain. Strong winds and heavy snow across many parts of the UK yesterday.
The multi-hazard weather event has left 3 dead in a spate of weather-related road incidents and thousands of homes without power.
Well, today, dozens of weather warnings are still in place because of heavy rain and winds and thawing snow, which could lead to floods.
That's why people across the country have been urged to stay at home as the weather causes travel delays across the UK.
Well, earlier we spoke to travel expert Simon Calder.
On the roads, exactly as you have been saying, you absolutely need to take care of that, in particular for flooding. That is now going to be the big risk. Of course, we saw several tragedies, I'm so sorry to say, yesterday involving Storm Bert. And if you don't have to travel today by road, that will be an advantage, so much riskier than rail. But if I can turn to the trains, that's not going to be very much fun in a lot of places. We saw massive disruption yesterday. Avanti West Coast, for instance, saying don't go north of Preston, which, as you will know, Stephen, includes lovely Lancaster, the Lake District up to Glasgow. They're still saying if you've got a ticket for yesterday, you can use it tomorrow. We have cancellations on a large number of northern services. Now, the thing is, on a Sunday, we normally get a large number of cancellations on northern services anyway, so it's slightly difficult to find out what is going on. The Exeter to, looking at the south of the country, Exeter to Oakhampton, that has got no trains, I think, because of flooding. And right across Scotland, the story is speed restrictions. Because, of course, if you've got heavy rain, if you've got flooding, then there's a danger that there could be landslides. So that's going to slow a lot of journeys down. If you were hoping to catch a Caledonian McBrain ferry, if we can move on to the sea, well, that's going to be quite challenging, particularly out of Oban and Mallaig. Lots of cancellations there. And they're even cancelling some services tomorrow, the 7 o'clock from Stornoway to Ullapool, going from the Outer Hebrides to the Scottish mainland. That's already been cancelled. If you were thinking of flying, well, Logan Air, the Scottish regional airline, has cancellations. But I tell you what, I have just been counting up the number of cancellations at Heathrow. I'm over 100 now, most of them British Airways, short-haul European and domestic flights. They have basically just sort of taken a knife to the schedule. I'm assuming, and I haven't been able to, I've been trying to check this, but I haven't been made certain of it yet, that if heavy winds are forecast, and we're expecting gusts, particularly going from south to north, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, then the rate at which planes can land at Heathrow has to be reduced. It's the world's busiest two-runway airport, and wholesale cancellations begin.
It's 9:13. Let's have a look at some of the other stories this morning.
Delegates at COP29 in Azerbaijan have agreed a new climate finance target. They pledged $300 billion, up from $100 billion a year ago, to help poorer countries deal with the impacts of climate change, with rich countries leading the payments. It was feared that the conference would collapse after some of the poorest nations walked out of the talks.
A number of unidentified drones have been spotted over 3 air bases in Britain. That's according to the United States Air Force. The incidents occurred between the 20th and 22nd of this month, saw these unmanned aerial systems over RAF Lakenheath, RAF Mildenhall and RAF Feltwell.
And 2 tennis rivals have united. Novak Djokovic has appointed his former rival, Andy Murray, to be his new tennis coach. Murray is set to join Djokovic's team in the off-season, helping him prepare for the Australian Open. Aidan McGee will have all the details.
I'm afraid to say there has been a lot of doom and gloom this morning. Such is the way of it at the moment. But let's brighten your morning.
Yes, we can.
With your chance to win £50,000 in tax-free cash.
It's the biggest cash prize we've ever given away, and it's really easy to make it yours. Here's how you do it.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Yeah, best of luck to you on that one.
Yeah, indeed. Well, cheer me up.
It'd be wonderful.
Yeah, we're not allowed
wouldn't
to enter, though.
No, sadly. Right.
Yes.
Still to come, we've got more on that Channel 4 documentary tonight with a very provocative title about the Queen. So that's next.
See you soon.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark Meets at My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, let's speak now to Sales Director at Savills for Quinta Properties, Raquel Santos, who is live for us in Portugal. Raquel, good to see you this morning. Why are all these celebrities flocking to Portugal all of a sudden?
Yeah, I guess it's just because of basically the great lifestyle that we have, security, you know, Portugal has kind of been a hidden, tucked away gem for quite a while that people didn't realize existed. And with the international flights that, you know, with the American flights coming in, it's kind of been put back on the map as a country that's worth visiting and worth investing in due to the secure investments that we offer in real estate.
Raquel, is it anything to do with tax rates? Because I think capital gains tax is, I think if it's over a certain amount, you pay half of your rate, which is 28%. Capital gains on shares and cryptocurrencies is 0. Is it anything to do with that? Because over here in the UK, big storm at the moment about millionaires apparently leaving in exodus because of the mooted increases in taxes in just a few weeks.
Yes, so obviously the alterations that are happening with the UK in terms of the tax that's being implemented on the capital gains, as you mentioned, we've definitely noticed has become a big drive, mostly on the vendor side as well, who are looking to sell because they don't want to be hit, you know, with these higher capital gains, which is close to coming into effect.
Raquel, have you noticed then millionaires, high net worth people from the UK getting in touch with you looking to relocate?
Definitely. It's for multiple reasons, obviously, the changes that are due to come into place, obviously, and Portugal just seems to be a safe option always when things do kind of change. People opt to come into Portugal because we're quite steady, we're quite stable.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I just want to read this one. Anne, hi Anne. She says, will that petition to call for an election reach 1 million today? I tell you what.
Yeah, I think it could do,
Yeah,
actually.
the way it's
if
going.
it keeps going like this, 362,000 at the moment, so that's 10,000 in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. Janice has just said that petition is on fire. I don't think it'll do much, but at least it should shake them up a bit.
Yeah, well, that's the most you can hope for, really.
Yeah.
It might do, but it needs to keep. If it keeps going at this level, yeah, you'll be. Could be 1 million by lunchtime.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
It's really interesting. Yeah, it was only started yesterday.
Yeah, it's really it's jumping up. Right, anyway, let's crack on with the royal household,
Yes,
should we?
we have
Because there's
to.
a new documentary centred around Queen Camilla, which will be shown on Channel 4 today.
The documentary has controversially been titled Queen Camilla, The Wicked Stepmother, but it does have a question mark. It will reportedly focus on Camilla's ascension to Queen Consort and her relationship with the King's children. Earlier, we spoke to royal commentator and former royal gardener Jack Stooks.
The title is to pull people in, isn't it? They've always got to find some kind of headline to get you riled up, get you going, get you intrigued as to what's coming. I think the reason is they're trying to use the sort of Harry versus Camilla story very much from what he said in his book. I don't know if we can say she's the wicked stepmother. I think we all know from talking to friends and family who have stepmothers, there's always an excuse. Oh, well, she's not my real mother. So there's always going to be that from any family, be it royal family, be it say, for instance, my sister's family. And there's always going to be something that's going to be said that's going to cause some kind of ruckus. I know Harry has been very controversial in his book. The book's obviously done very well because it was so controversial. So perhaps he was putting things in the book to make it a lot more controversial. I obviously know the Queen. I know the King. I know Prince Harry. I know the royal family quite well. And I never saw her do anything out of place, be awful to her family. She was always very wonderful a person. She still is. She goes out of her way to be polite to whoever she can be. She'll speak to anybody, and she's a lovely person. So I don't know quite what this is going to say about her or about the family, whether it's going to be positive about the Queen or negative. Personally, I think it should be positive because she's a great person, and I don't think she's put her foot wrong since being the Queen, or even when she was the Duchess of Cornwall.
Yeah, if this documentary is going to make jibes at her, then I'm not impressed.
I think she's strong enough. She's been through a lot. She's strong enough. She will survive it. It's more the effect on King Charles, who, you know, you always get upset on behalf of people you love, don't you? That's the thing. You know, like, you know, if me being a bit nasty about you and calling you Dr. Kermit is probably going to affect your other half more than it affects you.
I think, no, never mind that. Everyone at home watching and listening will be sending in the nasty messages to gbnews.com/yoursay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Addressed to Dr. Kermit, that's fine.
She's been very, very horrible about me, but as I said yesterday, you're a very unpleasant woman to work with.
Yeah, we absolutely... I've got a brilliant picture. I posted it online afterwards about how much we actually really do hate one another. It's a thing. I'm sorry.
Actually, hilariously, someone on Twitter yesterday did message in and they say about how much we hate each other, and everyone on GB News hates each other.
Everyone hates who they work with.
Which is totally not true.
But I do prefer his husband, just saying.
Yeah, well, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't? This petition for a general election, I mentioned it, 3 minutes ago at 360,000, now at 367,869. I'm just astounded. When you think of individual people, these thousands every minute who are logging on to the Parliament website and doing all of this, it's just extraordinary.
Very easy. Get on there and sign it if you want to. Lots of you are, and it will be over 1 million by the end of the day.
It will be.
Yeah.
Will the government listen? Yeah. Well, it might give them a bit of a shake.
Well, that's it from me and Dr. Kermit for today. Have a lovely rest of your Sunday. I think Camilla's up next. He's about to hit me now.
Your chair won't go down.
Rest of your weekend. Thanks for watching.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. We still have Storm Bert dominating our weather through today, bringing strong winds, further spells of heavy rainfall, but also some mild air too. So we have a band of rain across the southwestern parts of England. That's moving its way slowly eastwards across the Midlands and gradually into East Anglia. Towards the north of that, though, a much drier picture compared to Saturday, but blustery showers already moving through across parts of Northern Ireland and western part of Scotland. Here temperatures around 10 or 11 degrees, but across the south a very mild picture out there, highs of 15 to 16 degrees. There are warnings in force, rain and wind warnings. We could see gusts up to 70 miles per hour across western parts of Scotland through this evening, with heavy spells of showers and rain. That continuing across Northern Ireland as well, with blustery showers feeding through, gusts here up to 65